Good morning. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, everybody. Oh, let me see. Goats. What are we talking about? I want a goat. Oh, wow. Good morning, Queen. Good morning, Love Louie. K9 Charlie. Cindy Lou Who. Awesome. Oh, my God. No way. K9, are you okay? Oh, my God. Holy shit. I have 3 goats, but they are all a year old and boring and used up. Oh, my God. Used up. Oh. Oh, my God. Hey, Mama. I know. I'm so excited. Oh, hello, Mr. Snotty. Good morning, Gerri. Mama the boss. I'm so excited. I'm super excited. Hello, Justice Jane. Good to see you. So curious who we're going to have on the stand today. After yesterday was so. I know, I'm all kinds of excited. But it's hot. I'm so hot right now. Hey, Wandering, how are you? Good to see you, ma'am. So yeah, I'm really trying to figure out how I can have some really fun music tonight. I'm going to make it happen one way or another. Thank you, Wondering. You will be back. Yeah. Do what you got to do, girlfriend. So I don't want to be too silly with this. I don't need to carry on, but I will let you know I have done some more vacuuming and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. Are you okay though? Canine falling? Oh my God. That's crazy. Oh, did you? Oh, I got to go find it. Oh, thank you. Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, I like to go ahead and fall down. Okay, I'm going to get this started, get the ball rolling on this. Let me see. We've got old Pillsbury Doughboy there. Goofy doofus. Wait, what? Yeah, please get some sleep, Wandering. Please, yeah, please do. Good morning,
All right, thank
Colin.
you, Mr. Bailiff. Please be seated.
I'm working on a diamond painting and watching the trial with Jackie, 2K sub lady. Oh, I know. I love it.
All right, good morning, everyone. We're back on the record on case CR 22-21-1623, State of Idaho versus Chad Daybell. We're continuing with the state's case in chief. Officer Stubs is on the stand and was previously sworn.
Yes,
I'll note
yesterday
that the
was
jurors
so
are all
awesome.
presently accounted for and
Colin,
properly
thank you
seated.
so much for what you did.
The court has received the juror affirmations from each of the jurors that are here present today, indicating they've continued to follow the court's admonition as it relates to
you really helped so many
not following
better.
or looking into or investigating the case. So thank you
We
again for
appreciate you
returning
very,
and
very
for
much.
following the court's instruction. I'll also just
Good
briefly
morning,
address
Life
the
Mommy.
schedule for today. We are going to go past lunch, but not until we typically break in the afternoon, and we're intending to stop sometime around 2 or 2:30 perhaps, just for reasons the court stated to counsel in a sidebar before we started. So with that,
well, but it's good to let you know that we do
inquire
appreciate you.
briefly of the witness because we had the break here from the exclusionary order. Officer Stubbs, did you review any case or testimony or anything about the case that you were on the stand this afternoon?
Make this go fast.
Thanks for affirming that. I'll remind you, of course, you're still under oath for your testimony. And Mr. Wood, if you'd like to continue with direct, you may do so.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Just to recap, Detective, when we left yesterday for clarity of the record and for the jury.
Okay, I'll be in and out here.
We had spoken about your visit with Lori Vallow on November 26th.
Yes, we have.
That you were not able to locate JJ that day.
No, we were not able to.
And that you weren't able to verify his whereabouts later that day.
Thank you, Life with Mommy.
That is correct.
I appreciate you.
Did you in the next day help in searching Lori Vallow's apartment?
Yes, November 27th, 2019, with a search warrant, yes.
Okay, thank you, pursuant to a search warrant. And I believe you testified yesterday that you did not locate JJ in any 3 of those apartments.
We did not.
Okay. Detective, did you have body cam on? Did you do a body? Let me rephrase that. Did you do a body cam walkthrough of any of those apartments?
Yes, I did on both 174 and 175.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the witness be handed State's Exhibit 144.
Very well.
And a courtesy copy has been provided to court and counsel.
And Judge, my numbering may be off because I had 144 as the first contact with Lori Vallow. Am I mistaken, counsel?
That was
59.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, 59. Detective, do you recognize State's Exhibit 144?
I do.
What is it?
This would have been a USB drive of my documentation of apartment 175.
And did you specifically review it on that drive?
Yes, I have.
And did you initial that drive?
I did.
Is it a true and accurate representation of the body cam you recorded that day?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd move for admission of State's Exhibit 144 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
All right, Exhibit 144 is entered into evidence.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I publish?
You may publish.
This is the search warrant on apartment number 17.
I inquire, is the audio coming through the speakers?
It is.
Okay.
Well, I think it is. I'm not sure if it's through your mic on your computer or through the speakers. I think it was through the speakers, though.
Write it out.
175. Coming into the front door, this is the front room.
Detective, I'm going to pause it real quick. Is this the same apartment that you spoke to Lori Vallow in?
Yes, it is.
And this body cam was taken on what date?
The following day, the 27th.
Of November 2019?
Yes.
Entered. This is the damage to the door upon a no-knock entry warrant. Door Front door. Back of the door. Room. Here's the door jamb. Front room and kitchen area. There was, on arrival, keys that had been left on the counter, a envelope from Amazon. This was on the front porch to a Lori Vallow, 565 Pioneer Road, apartment 175, Rexford, Idaho. Kitchen, pantry, half bath, garage leading to the door leading up to the garage. This area, couches, tables, guns located in this area. Sorry, Sean. I'm going that way, Rob. Staircase going up to the second level of the home 175. To the left at the top of the landing, it's a master bedroom, bed, a bath and closet area. Upon entering, no clothing left in this closet, shower.
Detective, we just heard you say there was no clothing left in that closet, correct?
Yes.
Was that of note to you?
It made me think that the occupants, because of our day visit before, left in haste.
Like there was some electronic devices on these at one time. I could see dust imprints. What appears to be computers. Here is a printer. On this printer is a lease agreement. Looks like executed on October 1st, 2019. And it says a Lori Ravan, R-V-A-N, as the leaser. Coming out of the master bedroom, a hall adjoining a laundry room to the right. Continuing down the hall to the left, a furnace, water heater, closet. Opposite that is a bathroom. Continuing down the hall, two bedrooms. One to the south, one to the north of the hallway. This is the one to the south. A single bed, a double bed, a closet containing a couple coats, one empty box, a fan, some empty hangers, what appears to be a bedspread, and this box here that appears to have possibly winter clothes, female winter clothes inside. Continuing to the other bedroom, we have, this is the one to the north. We have a bed, what appears to be some bedding on the floor. We have three cases here, all containing guitars. It looks like a duffel bag full of toiletry items that would appear to be belong to a male subject due to the cologne and so forth inside. This closet is also fairly barren. It's like there are two samurai swords inside the closet, empty laundry basket, another basket containing some odds and ends of some sort. Nothing else in this room. That is the entire aspect of the home upon entry.
And Detective, did you search or did you do a walkthrough of any other apartments that day with your body cam?
I did a walkthrough of the apartment 174, which is right next to 175, would have been Melanie Boudreau's apartment.
And can you remind the jury who Melanie Boudreau is and her relationship to Lori Vallow?
It would have been Lori's niece.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the witness be handed State's Exhibit 144A. Yeah, a copy has been provided to the court and counsel.
All right, thank you.
Detective, do you recognize State's Exhibit 144A?
Yes,
What is it?
this would have been my documentation of the apartment 174 when I did a walkthrough after entry had been made into it as well.
When you went into 174, was there anything that stood out to you?
Well, this particular apartment appeared to still be, someone was residing there. The clothes were in the closet. There was a car in the garage. So it appeared to me that someone was still residing there. Something that struck me as odd is as we were searching. So this was Melanie Boudreau's apartment. At one time, she was married to Brandon Boudreau. I noticed that on the counter, she had a, if you will, a 3-ring binder with those clear plastic organizers in there. And I thought it was odd because I knew they were divorced, that she had numerous of his credit cards and driver's license in there.
And is that all captured on the body cam that you took as you did a walkthrough?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 144A, is that a true and accurate representation of the body cam you took on that walkthrough?
Yes.
Did you initial that drive and have you reviewed it?
I have reviewed and I initialed it after viewing.
Your Honor, I'd ask that State's Exhibit 144A be entered into evidence.
No objection.
All right, Exhibit 144A is admitted.
And may I publish?
You may.
Should be. I don't still have be. Okay. I don't think so. Okay, this is apartment number 174, which is just south of 175. This is the initial walkthrough of the apartment. This door was hit on a no-knock warrant. This is the door, and the door jamb was destroyed upon the entry. No one came to the door. The front room. Kitchen area. Looks like there is a couple of electronics, possible some kind of purse here. Here is like several credit cards with name of Brandon Rodexio. Announcing that wrong. Also a driver's license out of Arizona for Brandon. Coming around for
Detective, you recently testified about finding a large amount of credit cards for Brandon Boudreau.
Yes.
I believe there you may have mispronounced his name. Is that?
I surely did.
But it was Brandon. I'm not saying that to make fun of you.
It is the same.
For purposes of identity, it was Brandon Boudreau. Okay. And Your Honor, I'm done with this exhibit.
Okay.
And Detective, just for clarity from yesterday, you've testified that J. Daybell was not located that day, was he?
He was not.
To your knowledge, did the search for JJ Vallow ever extend into a search to include Tylee Ryan as well?
Yes,
And Detective, you testified before that you have some experience in cellular devices.
that is correct.
Did you participate or write warrants for any cellular or digital evidence in this case?
I did.
Did you prepare a list of the different warrants you prepared in anticipation of testifying at trial?
Yes,
Did you do that to aid the jury in understanding the different warrants you wrote and to be able to explain why you wrote them and what you obtained from them?
yes, I did.
And do you believe it would aid the jury in understanding your testimony about the nature of the evidence you collected?
I believe it would help them understand what we did and why.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the witness be handed State's Exhibit 296. And I don't know if the court or counsel has a copy of this yet.
I have a courtesy copy.
Okay, and I believe he does.
Thank you.
I do have a copy. Thank you.
Detective, is this the list I was just speaking to you about?
It is.
Is it a true and accurate representation of the list you created?
Yes, I prepared this list.
Your Honor, for demonstrative purposes only, I'd ask that State's Exhibit 296 be entered into evidence.
No objection, Judge.
Okay, Exhibit 296 is admitted as a demonstrative exhibit.
And before I go there, Your Honor, or Detective, I want to clarify with you really quick. Did you ever find evidence that Brandon Boudreaux lived in apartment 174 in Rexburg, Idaho?
No,
May I publish Exhibit 296?
Yes.
Detective, approximately how many search warrants did you obtain for electronic or digital evidence in this case?
20.
And are they listed on this list?
Yes, they are.
Can you tell us about the first item on that list?
Yes, so 2019-77 was the first warrant that I had wrote. This was for the known phone number that we had originally had contact with Lori Vallow. After our original contact, however, wouldn't take any calls after that. But so I wrote this warrant to Verizon Wireless to get information on her and anything that Verizon might have that would aid us in trying to locate her and her children.
All right. And did you obtain any useful information from that warrant?
Yes.
What was that?
So just if I may, just kind of give an overview of, if I may, from 77, can you lower it down past 53 just a little bit? So 77 through 61, just so if I may, this was all pre-finding the children. So these were all done in attempt to locate where the kids were or Lori was. And so I just wanted to clarify that these are going to be all grouped, if you will, in that aspect.
Thank you. And since you brought that up, the numbers on the left, is there a method to the numbering of those warrants?
So at least where I'm from, Madison County,
Sure.
the way warrants are issued, the first number has to do with the year, then the dash, and then the second number is what warrant was in accession, whether it me, someone else that got a warrant. So it'd be at the first year, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on throughout the year.
All right. Okay. Thank you. And so going back to the top of the list, what useful information did you obtain from that warrant?
So as a result of that warrant, it led to the next warrant because we were able to get a return from Verizon saying, these are some of the names and email addresses that would have been associated with that first number. So then as it shows here, we wrote 86 in 2019 because we were able to obtain these email addresses. As you can see, 3 of them were Gmail accounts, which in some ways is very useful to us in trying to identify and find somebody.
Okay. How does that help you find someone?
So, kind of in a nutshell, anytime someone uses social media or a Gmail account or has any kind of account that would associate them with the internet, and Google is very good at keeping track of people. And so when you use a Gmail account or you're logged on to your Google account, they are very good at keeping record of what you do. They keep track of the accounts that people set up, who they are, or who set them up. It's vital information that might help us especially in this case, if there were other phone numbers associated with that Google account. Google will package those under, if you will, that Gmail account. Addresses, credit cards, things like that. Google will, if you log in from a device to your account, whether it's a computer, cell phone, whatever, they'll make note of that and link that to your account.
And in terms of the Google location services that they keep track of, are you aware if an individual can opt out of the geolocation tracking?
So there is an option through Google. If you so desire, you can turn off your location services, which would keep Google from keeping that information.
So under search warrant 2019-86, you have, can you read the names of the 4 accounts you searched?
Yeah, so in blue here, the result was Homer J. Maximus at gmail.com, associated with Alex Cox. Lowly Time Forever at gmail.com, Lori Vallow. Lori for Style at iCloud.com, also Lori Vallow. And Chad.Daybell at gmail.com, associated with Chad Daybell.
To your knowledge, were you able to obtain Google geolocation data from any of those accounts?
Yes.
Which ones?
Homer J. Maximus would be the one that, if you will, gave us the most information.
Okay. Let's go to the next warrant. What was that written for?
So again, we're still in the process of trying to locate children, JJ and Tylee. Sorry. So search warrant was done for a PO box we had located for Lori in Sugar City, which is an adjoining town to Rexburg. In that mail, we found a Verizon bill. Upon opening this Verizon bill, we found several phone numbers listed under the name of Lori, Alex, Charles Vallow, Tylee, that we didn't have before. So our thinking in this was to, again, write another warrant to Verizon for these numbers to try and get additional information so we could find these children.
Right. Was anything useful obtained from that?
Yeah, it just solidified a lot of what we had already done, numbers that were associated, and we're able to eliminate quite a few of those phones as that they had been surrendered, if you will, or turned to somebody else and no longer had anything to do with them. This count had kind of gone into default because of lack of payment.
Okay. Let's go down to 2020-09.
Okay.
You can describe for the jury what that warrant was for.
Okay, so again, you're going to see the Homer J. Maximus, but so when these apartments were abandoned, 175 particularly, no one ever returned to them after the 27th. So the landlords, if you will, or owners, went in to clean out all the stuff that was in there. And when they were in there, they had located in some of the stuff, to abandoned devices that they thought best to turn over to us. So this is a result of looking at those devices. The new one that you would see with Alex Cox is the raylamar@gmail.com.
And then again, Homer J. Maxim is Homer
Right.
J. Maximus again.
Yes.
Tell us about warrant 2020-15.
Okay, so this was originally written. If you notice the second number over in this warrant, a typo, I put it in parentheses here, was put 47 when it said it should have been 74. So those two numbers were just crossed. Anyway, what this means with the tap and trace warrant, we still could not get answers on where the kids were, and couldn't get information from Lori.
And let me interrupt you really quick. I apologize. Do you recall approximately when you submitted this warrant 2020-15?
Would have been fairly early in January, I believe.
Of 2020?
2020, yes.
All right, thank you. Yeah, and if you can explain what a pen register tap and trace
Sure.
is.
So what this does is we request this on these numbers because we believe we could associate these with the parties. The company, which would have been Verizon here, would send us live data, not necessarily conversations, but where the phones would be, if you will, hitting off of cell phone towers to give us a general location of where they might be at this time, live, if you will.
Okay. So is it fair to say it's used to try and track a person's current location? Or let me rephrase that, a device's current location.
Yes.
And you did that trying to find those phone numbers that are listed there. Do you know who those phone numbers belonged to?
So yeah, this is going to be a long and short of this, but because it's going to come into connection with 2020-20 as well, because if I may kind of explain that.
Sure, please do.
So the 15 was wrote to Verizon Wireless. Well, ultimately, two of those numbers, Verizon said they're not our numbers. You're going to have to also get a hold of T-Mobile. So two of those numbers in 2020, as you see, T-Mobile Wireless, were in the above warrant. However, we had to write a new warrant for T-Mobile. So they're both in conjunction, if you will. Okay, now that I've explained that, ask that question again.
So the numbers that are on, and I'm actually going to
Okay.
say between 2020-15 and 2020-21, who do those numbers belong to?
So we believe those numbers to be associated with Lori Vallow, Alex Cox, Tylee Ryan, Chad Daybell.
If you were looking for Tylee and JJ, why were you looking at Chad Daybell's location?
Well, I mean, Lori and Chad were married. We couldn't get a hold of either one of them. We couldn't get any straight answers as to where they were. We couldn't get any answers as to where the children were. So they were associated.
And I'm going to just kind of back up just really briefly. When you obtain a warrant, how do you obtain a warrant?
So we have to enter what is called a probable cause affidavit to the court on why we want it and what we believe we will find once that warrant is signed by a judge. So with that probable cause affidavit, a warrant for what we are looking for is presented to the court. The court reviews that. If they feel like our probable cause is just, a judge will sign the warrant, allowing us to move forward with serving the warrant on whoever it is we're serving it on.
Okay. So the warrants are signed by the judge.
That's correct.
On these pen register / tap and trace warrants, were you able to locate Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow through those warrants?
Yes, we were able to locate the devices which we believe to be with them in Hawaii.
warrant number 2020-25. Can you tell us what you found or what was searched and found on that?
Okay, so upon finding where they were, we had investigators, FBI, go to Hawaii, Kauai, if you will, and they were able to locate Chad and Lori. A warrant was obtained to gather evidence from their residence where they were staying there and their vehicle. This is a result of 10 electronic devices that were taken from their rental car that they were both in. And so that is what the 10 electronic devices is for, why we obtain warrants.
And did you search all these devices yourself, or did other agencies and other personnel help in searching some of these devices?
So yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because all these warrants, when you get back a return from Google, Verizon, you have to understand these are thousands of pages long, thousands of records, thousands of pages. And for just one person to go through all that, and especially in the short time frame we were trying to do this to find kids, is simply impossible. And so a lot of the returns that I got from this, I would give out to FBI, other investigators for review, so we could try and go through a large record in a short amount of time.
And we'll return back to some of the things that were found on that in just a bit in 2020-25. Can you tell us about 2020-30?
Yeah, would you mind just moving that down just a little bit? Thank you. So this again was another tap and trace warrant on a phone that we found. You have to understand, by this time, like I stated at the beginning, we still had no answers even after contacting Chad and Lori as to where the children were. We weren't getting any answers. No one was talking to us. So again, with this tap and trace warrant, we were still looking for children, and we were trying to establish if this device was anywhere around the children. So that's the reason for this one.
And the next warrant, 2020-31.
So this again came from, this would be Melanie Boudreau's apartment. Devices found there, and this would have been apartment 174. So this was a warrant for us to go ahead and search the actual devices that we had taken from that residence. I should note here that at this time, our current software that we use for forensics, I should say not me, but the FBI was taking care of these. The phones were not able to be broke into at this time, only the tablet. So that's still looking for children.
And you mentioned that, so if we can just talk about it really quick. Just because you have a device, does that mean you can automatically hook it up to your Cellbrite or another forensic software and read it?
Well,
Does that happen
that's
automatically?
kind of a two-part thing. Yeah, we got to have a warrant.
Right.
And so forensic software is always slightly behind a phone, if you will. So whenever a phone comes out with new technology, forensic people who develop software are always taking the new device and trying to figure out, if you will, how it ticks, but it's not till it comes out. So as far as these phones, software hadn't been updated that we could break into the passcodes on these. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yes. So, and just, I guess to clarify, just because you physically have the phone and you can hook it up to your software, that doesn't mean you can always get into the device.
That's right.
Can you tell us about 2020-46?
So we were able to establish that these were two different numbers belonging to Melanie Boudreau. And, you know, as far as at this time, we didn't feel like she was being cooperative either. We knew that.
Judge, I'm going to object at this time. I've been somewhat relaxed, but I need some foundation for him to be able to make these kinds of statements.
Mr. Wood, do you want to respond to that?
Approximately when did you obtain this warrant for the two numbers for Melanie Boudreau?
It would have been probably later spring. I can't give you an exact date without seeing the warrant itself.
And that's okay, but it was later spring of 2020.
Yes.
And at this time, had you found, or not you, but had law enforcement found Tylee and JJ?
No.
And were you trying to obtain information from Melanie Boudreau about the whereabouts of Tylee and JJ?
Yes.
Why would she have that type of information? Or why, let me rephrase that. Why would you think that she might have that type of information?
Well, in interviews, we felt like she was
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. There still hasn't been sufficient foundation. He's referring to other interviews. He's not identifying them, and I'm not even sure he participated in those interviews.
I'll sustain that, Mr. Wood.
Did you ever participate in an interview with Melanie Boudreau?
I only had interaction with her when she was being interviewed in obtaining her phone to do a forensic on it. I had to make contact with her during that interview for that purpose.
And Judge, could I have some date, time, place, foundation, please?
I'm waiting for an objection.
Objection.
Yeah, it's not an objection, Mr. Pryor. So now there's an objection based on foundation. Mr. Wood, if you'd like to respond.
Approximately when did you meet with Melanie Boudreau?
This would have been early on. I don't recall exactly the date. I remember it being in the interview room at the Rexburg Police Department.
Would it have been early 2020
Yes.
and before Tylee and JJ had been found?
Yes.
And was that when you obtained these the phones that were subject to 2020-46?
No. Well, so these phones were obtained when we did the search on the 27th.
And I'm actually going to use this opportunity right now. There's multiple ways to obtain digital evidence, correct?
Correct.
Is one of those ways to collect the evidence off of the device itself?
Yes.
Right. Can you also obtain evidence from the phone carrier?
Yes.
And when I say that, I mean like Verizon, T-Mobile.
Yes.
And then can you obtain evidence from app companies of apps that are on a phone?
And Judge, at this point, the objection is going to be leading.
Overruled.
So as I earlier stated, with the Gmail accounts and so forth, yes, they keep a lot of information that would have been shared with a phone, a computer. They also keep records that wouldn't be on the device. It would be in their database with Google or whoever.
Thank you. So on warrant 2020-46, it appears, who was that warrant written to?
Can you clarify who?
Who was that warrant served on?
Melanie Boudreau.
And did it go to Verizon Wireless as well?
Yes.
Right. And were you asking Verizon Wireless for information associated with those two phone numbers?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Did you find anything on those that aided you in finding JJ and Tylee?
Other than associations with the other email accounts and phone numbers that we've already gone through.
Okay. Tell me about the next warrant, 2020-53. Approximately when did you write that?
So this would have been after Lori and Chad were served in Hawaii. In searching the vehicle, there was a notebook found. This notebook had pages of, if you will, user accounts and email accounts and so forth. There was a page in there from the car that all these email addresses were listed, and therefore we again obtained additional warrants for some of these in hopes to locate the children.
At the bottom of 2020-53, what do you have written there?
So a lot of this was still during, not making excuses, but pandemic time. So we never got a response from Google on this warrant after months. And so they never responded.
2020-61, the word Shmuel is written. What is that?
So that was, we found that a lot of these devices had this app in common. It's a music sharing app. However, in the music sharing app, there was the ability to communicate through, if you will, text type messages. So again, we were just looking for any clues that would help lead us. And so this was a warrant written to Smule to see if they had any information that would help us.
And I believe you testified earlier that the warrants written up through 2020-61 were looking for the children.
That is correct.
What changed after 2020-61?
Because after this time, we would have been past the time where June 9th, where we located the children on Chad Daybell's property.
What was the purpose of 2020-74?
So this is in conjunction with the FBI with their CAST team.
And do you know approximately when it was that warrant was obtained?
This would have been, I believe, within a couple weeks after the 9th.
When you say the 9th, can you?
Sorry, June 9th, 2020.
And just for purposes of clarity, what event happened on June 9th, 2020?
That is the day that we located the children's bodies on the Daybell property.
Okay. So going back to that warrant, what was the purpose of that warrant with the FBI?
So again, we were, we hadn't, I mean, yes, we found the children. However, we didn't have other answers of why and whatnot. And we were still looking at trying to determine devices that would have been located on that property that could have been involved in the children being there. So the purpose in this was to take specialized equipment onto the property close to the locations where the children were found and get signal strengths from cellular towers and be able to precisely say what tower, what the signal strength was and so forth. The FBI did that part. I was with them. However, I was just really the one that obtained the warrant and served it at the property.
And then they did the work on that.
That is correct.
The next warrant, 2020, it looks like -76 and 77.
Yeah, so that's two different warrants, but
When approximately were those obtained?
I'm sorry.
When approximately were those obtained?
That would have been also shortly within a few weeks after the children were found on that June 9th date.
Okay. And it looks like that's a warrant for a geofence.
That is correct.
Can you
There's a couple
explain?
different ones.
Okay. Can you explain for the jury what a geofence is?
So again, the theory here is as I explained in the previous one, we're trying to find out, if you will, devices that would have been in the vicinity on certain dates and times where we believe the children had been buried on the property. So when I say a 250-meter range of the center of the properties in this, so if you were to take and put a dot and then draw a circle 250 meters out, which is approximately like 2.5 football fields in circumference. And so our thinking was we had dates we believed, we had times we believed. We wanted to try and find anyone who had any significant time in those areas during those dates and those times. And that's both for 202 North 1900 East, which was Chad's property, and 565 Pioneer Road, number 175, which is where Lori was. So we're just looking for commonality. We were looking, are we missing anything? Is there anybody else involved here that we need to be looking at? And that's why we wrote this, is to see if there's other people we need to be looking at besides who we already were looking at.
And so that warrant was written to Google, correct?
That is correct.
So just to help the jury understand, is when you say a geofence, are you looking for Google location data within that area?
Yes, that would just be what Google records have, not Verizon, not anybody else, just Google, because that's a very common thread that everybody uses. So yeah, it was just to Google.
And again, we had talked earlier about opting out of Google location services. If someone, to your knowledge and experience, if someone had their Google location data turned off, would they show up in that geofence?
Not by Google records, no.
Okay. So tell us, the process of obtaining that warrant and how you obtained that information.
On the return? When
Yes.
Okay, so you have to understand, especially, well, like Chad's property is more rural. But where Lori's property was, it's high density. And so when you ask for this, Google sends you thousands of pages of people that have passed through your fence, your 250-meter fence, whether they are on the road, whatever. So it's massive amounts. But Google doesn't tell you who they are in these warrants. Google assigns everybody a number. It's a Google association number is what it's called. And so everybody who has an account or whatever has a number associated with them. So when we get this return, the return shows, if you will, this device passed through there, was in that area for, this is just an example,
okay.
5 seconds. And you can see as it maybe passes on the road in that fenced area. But it doesn't say that was John Doe. It says this was Google account number, user number, this with a large digit number. So this warrant didn't establish who these people were, is I guess what I'm getting at, just a number associated with them.
And then did you do a follow-up warrant based on that initial return from Google?
So the theory was to take that warrant and all that information, plug it into a system, and then try and narrow it down to people who would have been in that area or both areas in common during those timeframes. So, so after plugging all that information in, we came down to possibly 12 devices that we felt could be, if you will, devices of interest. And so am I explaining that okay? That, and then we wrote, that would have led to 2021-10 here.
All right. And explain what you asked for in 2021-10.
Okay, so 2021-10 would have been us saying, okay, these are some Google numbers that are of interest to us from our fence account. And because they were either in the area for a significant amount of time, and maybe these people were involved or could have seen something or whatever during these critical times. And so us writing this warrant was to say, can you please tell us from these Google account numbers, can you please tell us who they are so we can, if you will, get in touch with them or look at them as people of interest.
All right. And so, and what were you provided? What did you learn from that?
Well, so after writing this warrant, we didn't receive a response from Google. And after much time had passed, I was finally able to get a hold of someone with Google, which is almost impossible to talk to a live person, but I finally get a hold of them, and their advice to us was to shrink our search a little bit more, that they felt looking for 12 was too broad. And so that's why they hadn't responded to our warrant. So, which at that time,
Follow up on that?
yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to speak.
No.
Did you follow up on that?
Yes. So at that time, we lessened it by 2 when we wrote 2021-20 for 10 devices that we felt were of interest. And we did receive from Google at that time the account holders' information on those 10 devices or 10 accounts.
Okay. And did you, what did you learn from that?
Well, so out of the 10 account holders, background checks were done, checks for associations with Lori, Chad, Alex. We could never find, other than Alex himself, any of the other people that would have had association with these 2 other parties.
Okay. So just to clarify, you wrote these warrants for these geofence areas around Chad Daybell's property and where Lori Vallow lived, correct?
Yes, on those particular dates, yes.
And you were looking for numbers that had some commonality between the 2 locations.
Right.
Right. And at the end of the day, the only number you found was Alex Cox's.
That's right.
Just briefly, can you tell us about the last warrant you have on that list?
Yeah, so this was a warrant that, so the children had been found. We were just trying to make sense of everything we had. And we thought it would be a good idea because we had been in the moment, if you will, of this whole investigation to have an independent person, an expert, go through the electronic devices that we had already been through to see if, number one, we had missed anything, and number two, get a fresh set of eyes that hadn't been so involved in the case to get an outside perspective into the case. And so this warrant was wrote for several of the devices we had already searched to take them out to Pennsylvania and have an independent expert go through what we had been through.
Did you learn any new information from that process?
So the answer to that question would be no, nothing new was obtained that we hadn't already discovered.
Okay. Detective, I want to just talk to you briefly a little bit about some of the things you found when you did your searches. I listed on Exhibit 296, and you've spoken about Lolly Time Forever.
One of Lori's Gmail accounts, yes.
And did you ever look, did you specifically look at that account yourself?
Lolly Time?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Did you ever have occasion to look at the search history on it?
Yes.
Were there any searches that stood out to you through your investigation?
Yes, there were a few that brought me concern.
Right. Was there a search on August 25th that interested or that was of note to you?
Yes.
What was that for?
So on August 25th, the user of this account, which the name on the account was Lori Vallow, the user of this account on the 25th looked up wedding rings made of malachite, visited some sites with that. At one point, the user attempted to make a purchase of 2 of those rings, and they were basically silver with the green malachite through the middle of them. Each one was an 11.5 size ring, and the other one was a 4.25. And a purchase was attempted for a total of $808 on that date.
Are you aware if that purchase was successful?
No, I was later able to find out that the credit card used had failed, and so the purchase was never completed.
And on this same account, Lolly Time Forever, was there anything that you noticed in the search history on September 20th?
September 20th, which was 3 days before we believe JJ.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. It's non-responsive.
I think he's just providing information for the answer, Your Honor.
And it's non-responsive information.
It's overruled. You can answer.
So on the 23rd, when we believe JJ was deceased, on the 20th, knowing, well, the user of the account looked up the definition and meaning of possessed.
Okay. And to clarify, I don't know if I did this before, Lolly Time Forever, who was that account associated with?
Lori Vallow.
And then was there anything that stuck out to you in the search history on that account, Lolly Time Forever, on September 30th of 2019?
Yes. So on September 30th, which would have been 2 days before Randy Boudreau's attempted shooting, the user of this account looked up how to remove the back seat from a Jeep Wrangler. The user of that account then accessed a YouTube video on how to do it, and that video was accessed.
And why was that of note to you?
Because 2 days later, gray Jeep Wrangler with Texas license plates was noted as being the vehicle that a gun was shot at Brandon Boudreau from the rear of that vehicle in Arizona.
Is that in fact the same Jeep that you found, that law enforcement found in Rexburg?
Yes, on the 4th.
4th of November,
Yes,
2019?
that's correct.
Did you do any searches on the account of chad.daybell@gmail.com.
Yes,
Did you look at that search history?
I did.
Why did you do that?
Again, at this time, we were still looking for children.
And was there anything in the search history of chad.daybell@gmail.com that caught your attention?
Yes.
What was that?
It would have been September 8th, 2019. The day before we believe Tylee was
Judge, I'm not sure I heard the year. I may have heard that wrong.
2019.
2019. Thank you.
And what did you find?
The user of Chad.Daybell looked up what the wind direction was going to be for the following day, which would have been the 9th.
And in the course of your investigation, why was that of note to you?
Judge calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Because we believe on the 9th was the day that Tylee was, her body was burned and buried in the fire pit behind Chad's house.
Detective, we had talked about when we were going over your list of warrants under 2020-25, about 10 electronic devices seized from Chad and Lori in Hawaii.
Yes,
Did you search any of those devices yourself?
I did.
Did you have occasion to search a PNY USB flash drive?
I did.
What did you find on that flash drive?
Upon initial looking at the flash drive, found several wedding photographs from December 5th of Chad and Lori's wedding in Kauai, Hawaii.
I'm sorry, what date did you say?
Would have been December 5th, or sorry, November 5th.
Okay, thank you. Tell us how you searched that device. Did you just plug it into a computer or did you do something else?
I used forensic software to search the device. One of the reasons we use forensic software is because it is set up in such a way that anything we do looking at the device won't, if you will, disturb its original form. So we use forensic software to search this device.
Okay. And was there anything else of note to you on that device?
Yes.
What was that?
So if I may, just a little bit here, at first glance, if you were to plug this flash drive into, say, a regular computer, the only thing that you would have been able to see on this flash drive would have been the wedding photographs. However, when you plug this type of device in and use forensic software, you are able to obtain and see anything that may have been, might still be there, deleted, so forth and so on, that you would be able to see with a regular computer.
Okay, and did you find anything that had been deleted?
Yes.
What was that?
I don't know the precise number, but it appeared to be photos of Chad, Tammy, their kids, if you will, a history. It appeared to me that possibly Chad and Tammy's courtship to their marriage to their kids being born to their kids growing up, just basically a family album, I guess would be the best way to say it, that had all been deleted.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm going to ask that the witness be handed State's Exhibit 61A through 61S, and I believe a courtesy copy has been given to the court and counsel.
All right, A through S. Mr. Wood?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Good morning, Frazzled. Good to see you, ma'am.
Detective, can you
Try
please
me.
review
Good morning.
61A through S, and then let me know when you've had a chance to do so.
Randy, hi. Sorry, guys, we had a few little difficulties over here. With the boy and some poopy hands and yeah, pretty much a whole thing. My property where all these
Okay.
disgusting
You recognize that exhibit?
Yeah, these are all
Oh, wow, Gerri.
hard
Yep,
copies of
I agree.
the photographs that were located on that flash drive.
And are those true and accurate representations of the photos you viewed on that flash drive?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask that States Exhibits 61A through S be entered into evidence.
And there won't be an objection, Judge.
Okay, exhibits 61A through S are individual photographs each. They're all admitted into evidence. Mr. Wood, we've got a request to take our morning recess this time. Let's go ahead and do that with the admission of those exhibits, and then we can move on after that. So we'll be in recess for about 20 minutes, intending to come back on the record here at about 1:15.
All right, please.
What? Oh my God, really? Yeah, I'm going to have to go back, guys, and listen because, as I said, I found little Jack asleep on the living room floor, and I went to pick him up and put him on the couch, which is when I discovered that he had pooped and put his hand in it. And so now poop was all over him, all over me, all over clothes, all over everything. So I didn't even hear what just happened. Since mountains don't have the money to pay other assholes, what happened now? How does he get paid? Well, he doesn't. See, and I'm not sure. There was so much that went on, and I don't know. I'm going to have to research that a little bit. Because what I know for sure that he was trying to become like a public defender, right? Once the money ran out. And he does have a lien. I don't know if he has a lien or how it works, but basically Chad's property belongs to Pryor. Oh. Wow. See, I did not know about that. He really did that? He's so gross. I cannot. Oh, yeah, it was very yuck. I'm not going to lie. But so what had happened was he was trying to get himself to be able to get paid as a public defender. And I think he might have done that. Not sure, but he was also, he was given, he had authority to hire somebody else because this is a death penalty case. It's a capital case. So by law, Chad is he's allowed to have, at least 2 attorneys and death penalty attorneys, which Pryor's not even. But apparently they couldn't get anybody. They couldn't find somebody who qualified and would take it, or I don't know everything that happened. Oh my God. Oh, I can't believe I missed all that. It was really up to shit. Wow. Okay, so what has happened is so many times Pryor has tried to, he has put so many delays on this trial and constantly up to some kind of nonsense with the delays that when it finally came down to him once again trying to delay the trial because of what's happened with Chad's defense, the judge finally said, no, whatever's happened, too bad. And so Pryor tried to quit, and he tried to quit this case because he can't get paid. And the judge also said, no, you're not. And this trial is not being delayed another minute. So if you remember that that hearing they had with that guy that tried to stop the trial, remember, like he was drunk or some shit, midnight the night before. It was wild. That guy said that, stop. No. Oh my God, no. So you know, this trial does everything. Everything. No stone is left unturned. But anyway, so that guy said in the hearing that he had been taught, that Pryor had been calling him. So I don't know what the hell, but the judge did sanction that guy. And he said, you know, pretty much said, I hope the bar sanctions you, but that's up to them. So it's been a really weird situation with his defense, but it's pretty much his fault because he's just trying to pull shit all the time. If you rewind a little bit before they took the break, that's where, okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I will fast forward for you guys. I'm going to go, because I have this on my phone so I can try to watch chat and stuff. Where's Jack? Boo. We're playing peekaboo over here. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward this for you guys, and I'm going to go listen because, wow, you know what? He continues to be more of an ass. And yeah, what is the jury going to say? Can you imagine? I mean, how are you trying to get out of what you've done with all the nastiness? So gross. I hate this guy. I swear I hate him. Can you imagine? I mean, what he did to his wife is so obviously killing her. Hello. But all of these things, what he's done to the kids. Can't believe people. Okay, I'll fast forward this, guys. Sorry. That's the whole point of us doing what we do. Doing it the way we do it.
Turn to the courtroom.
There we go, man tits. And I'm going to go on my phone because wow.
All right, please.
He is so gross. He just is. Unbelievable. I literally have never heard about that. I mean, I thought it was weird enough that he showed all those pictures to the friends that he knows they didn't want to see that.
All right, thank you, Mr.
No,
Bailiff.
stop.
Please be seated.
Give me a break. Okay, I'll zip my lip now and go check that out. Thanks, guys.
We just concluded the mid-morning recess. We're back on the record on case CR 22-21-16-23, State of Idaho versus Chad Daybell. Detective Stubs still on the stand on direct. We just admitted State's Exhibits 61A through S. And if you'd like to continue on direct, Mr. Wood, you may do so.
Thank you, Your Honor. And if I may publish.
You may. And as you publish, please reference each individual photo by its exhibit number.
Detective, was this one of the photos that you recovered from the flash drive we've been talking about?
Yes.
What does it appear to be?
Appears to be Chad and Lori on the beach in Hawaii with the pastor, possibly doing a wedding ceremony.
In this photo?
Again, Chad and Lori, their wedding on the beach in Hawaii.
And what was that, Mr. Wood?
I apologize, Your Honor. That was 61A. And for clarity of the record, the first one I showed was 61I. If you can say what you observe in 61B.
Again, appears that they're on the beach again. Chad has a ukulele, and Lori appears that she's dancing.
This is 61E. E is an echo. And what do you observe?
Again, another photo. This is one that I do get a glimpse of a ring on Chad's left hand. This isn't the best of them all, though, but
Okay. $61K.
picture of the wedding rings, which appear to be silver with possible malachite in the middle of them that both parties were eventually wearing on their fingers.
61H.
Appears to be Lori and Chad holding hands, revealing Lori's ring on her left hand.
61M.
Similar to the first, other than you see rings on both parties' hands.
And 61R.
This would appear to be Chad and Lori at some point. Appears to be in Hawaii in front of what appears to be the LDS temple.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, I have no further questions for this witness.
All right. I'll have the bailiff retrieve those photos. Mr. Pryor, cross-examination.
Judge, before I start, my understanding is it's by
Turn on the microphone, please, Mr. Pryor.
we're going to learn, am I? Before I start, Judge, I understand this is by stipulation of the parties. I have Exhibit 50 and it's Defense Exhibit 50. And I still, again, it's Glenn Bard's report that was referenced by Officer Stubs on the last line of his exhibit. I have the actual report of Glenn Bard, so I'm moving for admission of Glenn Bard's report.
All right.
No
any-
objection.
No objection. Very well. Defense Exhibit 50 is admitted.
And Judge, let me know when I can proceed.
You may inquire.
Officer Stubbs, there's a term about universal time as it relates to adjusting cellular data. And could you explain that a little bit to me?
So UTC, where, if you will, where time is zero, and then as you move around the Earth, you gain or lose an hour from that standard time.
Okay.
So depending on where you're at, it's UTC plus or minus.
Okay, and then when we're dealing with Rexburg, Idaho, St. Anthony area, do you have a recollection of what the UTC adjustment is?
It depends on the time of year, but it's usually UTC minus 6 or 7.
Okay, so six depending on
Daylight savings.
daylight savings time, but for generally it's a six hour adjustment. Would that be fair?
6 or 7, depending. Yeah.
Okay. Now you made a habit of going over the body cam of the apartments, 175, which would be assigned to who? Apartment number 175 Pioneer.
Well, Lori Valla was living there.
Okay, and then on 174, who was living there?
Melanie Boudreau.
And then 107, who was living there?
Well, 107 was originally assigned to Lori. However, we know Alex was living there at one time, but when we went there on the search warrants on the 27th, it was totally vacant.
Okay. And as part of your search warrant, did you also have a habit of going through the garages of those particular units as well?
Are you referring to my body cam or?
No, I'm talking in general. Did you also go through and look through the garages as part of your search?
That would be practice, yes.
Okay, and you did that on this particular occasion?
The garages were going through, yes.
Okay, that wasn't necessarily part of your body cam, was it?
Well, from the body cams, I did reference the garage.
Okay, you didn't take particular notations during this presentation, anything substantial about what was found in the garage, is that fair?
Other than the guns, no.
Okay, and if you were to see pictures of items that have been previously provided to the defense, would you be able to ascertain whether you believe those were items that were in the garage of the respective parties?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd have to see.
And if I provided you with those pictures and an opportunity to look at those pictures, would that be something that could refresh your recollection?
Possibly.
And Judge, if I could have the bailiff hand to Officer Stubbs. I have a thumb drive with a number of pictures. I'd ask Officer Stubbs, if you have some difficulty, please advise, and I can help you scroll through these respective pictures.
Okay, the device can be handed to the witness.
And if you have some difficulty, Judge, may I have permission to go to the witness or could the bailiff help him?
Let's just see if the officer's able to sort through how to scroll the photos. Is it a touchpad? Can you swipe, or do you have to use?
I think you can arrow them down, Judge, or
Yeah, I can see the arrow to next. So you want me to go ahead and look at all
go
these?
through 104A through the bottom of all of those, if you could.
I don't see where it's listed as like 104A. Oh, okay. It was on 104B when I got it.
And if necessary, you can zoom in if you need to.
You want me to go through how many? Sorry.
Just go through the end of them, and it's 104A through, I think there's about 15 photos, so if you could go through the list there.
Okay.
I don't need it now, but I will at some point. Thank you. Not today.
Yeah, I think I've looked through 104J.
Okay, and if I could have that, now, officer, do you recognize any of those photos?
Unless I previously stated, the only, if those came from 175, I was not, other than documenting the initial entry, I was not, from my body cam, what everyone saw, I was not involved in the search of 175. My directive was more in 174, so I don't recognize.
Okay. So other than the fact that you made mention of guns, you don't have any specific recollection of the items that are listed in these?
Mr. Pryor, please talk into the microphone.
You don't have any recollection of the items that are listed in that particular series of photos. Is that fair?
No.
Okay. So you don't have any recollection of recalling seeing any of those items in any of the photos. Is that fair?
Personally, no.
Okay. Did you find any other information through your investigation to determine whether any of those items are items that were found in any of the garages of the three parties you searched?
Restate that.
Through your investigation, were you able to ascertain whether any of those items were items that were obtained from the garage of the three parties that you searched?
I wouldn't be able to testify to that.
Okay. Okay. Now you spoke of the fact that you felt that the apartment of one of those folks was abandoned. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you spoke of the fact that you felt that, at least you implied that you felt that Lori Vallow was fleeing. Is that correct?
Objection misstates the testimony.
Sustained.
How about you felt that she had abandoned the home? Is that what you were implying?
Objection, that also misstates the testimony.
Overruled.
I believe that in walking through 175, that the clothes were all missing. And possibly the people left in haste.
Okay. Now, as part of your continuing investigation, did you come across any data that suggested tickets or purchase of tickets to Disneyland or to Knott's Berry Farm were made prior to your search on the 26th?
That's not something that I investigated personally.
Okay. Do you have some information that there was a trip planned by Chad Daybell's family 2 weeks prior to the search of the 26th?
I don't recall the date, but I do recall that there was possibly a trip to Disneyland or something. Yes.
Okay. So this wasn't a situation where Mr. Daybell was trying to hide his whereabouts. He purchased tickets and planned a trip 2 weeks before this search to go with his family. You're aware of that, right?
Objection, Your Honor. That misstates the testimony. His testimony was about the apartment of Lori Vallow.
Sustained.
So the representation that you felt that the apartment was vacated by Lori Vallow, that doesn't imply that Chad Daybell was vacating his premises, does it?
Objection,
No.
house or speculation.
Overruled.
That doesn't mean Chad Daybell was vacating, was it?
Well, it wasn't Chad's home.
Right. It was Lori Vallow's home, right?
Correct.
And then the other one was Alex Cox's home, correct?
Melanie Boudreau was next
Melanie
door.
Boudreau. Now you made mention of the Jeep and the search regarding the Jeep and regarding Brandon Boudreau, correct?
Search?
Yeah, the search to how to get the back seat out of a Jeep, right?
Okay. Thank you for clarifying
That's okay.
that search.
That's okay. And are you aware that Chad Daybell is not criminally implicated in the attempted murder of Brandon Boudreau?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we may revisit it, but on Exhibit 59, I think that was the initial 10-minute surveillance tape of you talking with Lori Vallow, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and on that tape, she made a number of representations. And during the 10-minute interview that you had with her, who was present with you at the time again? I'm sorry.
Lieutenant Ball and Officer Kellen Wetton was also there.
Okay. And during that 10-minute interview of her, you folks decided to leave. Is that correct?
Yes, with the understanding that they were going to get a hold of us of JJ's whereabouts.
Okay. And during that interview with Miss Vallow, she indicated to you that her friend, and I don't know if it was good friend, but her friend Melanie Gibb had JJ. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then you had testified that you took some effort to get a hold of Miss Gibb, correct?
Correct.
And did you subsequently learn that you got a hold of Miss Gibb at some point shortly after that meeting with Lori Vallow?
That would have been later that evening that we finally got a hold of her.
And Miss Gibb confirmed at that time that she had JJ Vallow. Is that right?
No,
What did she say?
she said she did not have JJ.
Oh, well, isn't it true she lied to the police about the whereabouts of JJ Vallow on that day?
I don't know. I wasn't involved in that conversation.
Okay. Okay. So when you say that she said she didn't have JJ, how do you know that? If you weren't involved in the conversation?
Because the next day is when law enforcement obtained a warrant because she had stated to officers that she did not have him.
So your recollection is that Melanie Gibb did not lie to the police initially about having JJ Vallow? Is that what you're saying?
Objection, he's misstating the testimony.
Overruled.
Is that what you're saying?
Ask the question again, please.
So what you're saying is that you got the search warrant because Melanie Gibb said she did not have JJ Vallow? Is that what you recall?
That's what I recall.
Okay. Now, during the conversation with Lori Vallow, she made a number of representations. She made some mention of the fact that she was going to be moving back somewhere with Melanie Gibb. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And that JJ and Melanie were at a Frozen movie or something? You recall that?
She said that Melanie and JJ were most likely at the movie Frozen 2.
Okay. So from what you heard her say about moving back, the fact that you felt that the apartment when you went back for the search warrant was abandoned, did you look into the possibility that Melanie Gibb had made plans to leave Rexburg, Idaho and move back with Melanie Gibb in Arizona?
Melanie Boudreau
Melanie Gibb
was moving back where?
with Melanie Gibb. Lori Vallow was moving back with Melanie Gibb to
Okay,
Arizona.
you said Melanie Gibb
and
was moving back.
And I apologize for that. I'll rephrase that. I misstated that, excuse me. Did you look into any information that would support the idea that Lori Vallow, after she abandoned that unit 175, had the intent to permanently move back with Melanie Gibb?
Well, she had told us that, so we were looking into that possibility,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So at this point, what you have is you have information that would suggest Lori Vallow may not have been honest about the whereabouts of JJ Vallow, correct?
Correct.
And you had information that at least her friend Melanie Gibb was accused of having JJ, correct?
She stated that Melanie had JJ, yes.
And at some point, Melanie Gibb contacted law enforcement, which gave you concern as to where JJ was, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, as part of all of these records and all of this information, you didn't look at Melanie Gibb's phone records, did you?
Not at this time, no.
Well, at this time, we're in trial right now, sir.
Right.
So when are you planning on looking at the records? A week from now or a month from now?
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
You never looked at David Gibb's record, or David Warwick's records either, did you, sir?
Nope.
Okay. Are you aware of the circumstances regarding September 23rd and 22nd and 23rd of the last known existence of JJ Vallow?
The
Sir?
circumstances?
Yeah, the circumstances surrounding his disappearance on those days. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to.
Are you familiar of who was with JJ Vallow or in the close proximity of JJ Vallow on the 22nd of September, the day he was at least last observed?
There was a number of people that were at Lori's residence, yes.
Right. And one of those people was Melanie Gibb, correct?
Correct.
One of those people was David Warwick, correct?
Correct.
And you're trying to locate JJ Vallow, and Lori Vallow on this tape says to you, my good friend Melanie has JJ, right?
Correct.
And you didn't look or bother to look into either David or Melanie Gibb's phones, did you?
No.
Okay. Would you agree with me that Miss Vallow was very convincing?
No.
You wouldn't?
No.
Okay, well, you showed up and were there for 10 minutes, right?
Correct.
She talked to you about a number of things and made a number of statements. And would you agree that a good number of those statements were not truthful?
That's correct.
And yet you didn't take any sort of action to detain her or to hold her, any type of any sort of action that way, law enforcement action to detain her, to hold her from fleeing on the 26th, right?
Correct.
Okay. Then you went back again and talked to her, correct?
On that same day?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And then again, you didn't take any action, correct?
Well, we hadn't established that JJ was not with Melanie Gibb at that time. Therefore, we had no reason to detain her.
Now, I noticed during the tape recording that there was a comment that was made right after the first visit with on the recording. And if we have to go back, please tell me if you don't remember, we can revisit that. But after you left Lori Vallow's apartment, you made the comment, not. Do you remember saying that?
I do.
Yeah, and not, if I understand correctly, and please correct me, is a situation where that's sort of a code word for telling law enforcement to turn off your body cams and not record what you were about to talk about, correct?
That would be correct.
So in other words, as part of this investigation, you chose that we're going to not allow these statements to be recorded. We're going to stop this body cam because we don't want to reveal or provide the information that the three of you officers were going to discuss. Is that correct?
Objection argumentative.
Overruled.
Is that correct?
Yes, we were going to state our opinions.
Okay. We didn't get the benefit of your opinion then because you turned off the cam, right?
That's right.
And at the conclusion of the second body cam, did you do a little knock there too?
No.
Okay. Ms. Vallow also mentioned that Alex Cox was her protector, right?
That's correct.
And you made mention that Melanie Gibb was not answering her phone, correct? You testified about that?
Yes.
And you made mention that Lori Vallow was not responding as well to phone calls, correct?
Later, yes.
Okay, how many phone calls did you make to Chad Daybell seeking information about JJ?
Myself, I did not make
Okay.
any.
Okay. And there was no warrant to search Chad Daybell's property at that time, is that correct?
That's correct.
And through your research of all of the devices, you didn't find an email or Facebook posting or text that said from Chad Daybell saying, Lori, let's kill the kids. You never found anything like that, right?
I did not.
Okay. Now, during the search of the of one of the apartments, I noted this, and I noted this before. You made it, and you know everybody was at the apartment during the search, right?
Most likely.
Body cam, most likely, or did you?
What about the body cam?
The body cam search of the 3 apartments. You knew everybody who was in there at that time, correct?
I'm sure I did.
Okay, all right. And at the time, you made a comment during one of the searches, and you said something to the effect, "Going that way, Rob."
Okay.
Who's Rob?
That would have been Prosecutor Rob Wood.
Okay, so Prosecutor Rob Wood was present during the execution of the search and review of which apartment were you searching when you told Rob going that way?
I believe that was 175,
Okay, Lori Vallow's.
correct?
Okay. Did you have any information as to where Chad Daybell was living after he got back from his Knott's Berry Farm trip?
I can only speculate
Okay.
from what I had heard.
All right. Now, you mentioned the fact that you also tapped some phone calls. Is that correct?
No,
That you sought a warrant to place, go ahead.
a tap is to listen to somebody. We did not listen to anybody.
Did you do any location? And I don't know what the proper word is. The warrant that you searched to be able to do a location on someone's phone like you did in this particular case. What's the term of that again? I'm sorry.
Tap and trace.
Tap and trace. That's right. I thought I had the first word right. So did we happen to do a tap and trace on Melanie Gibb and David Warwick's phone as well?
No.
Okay. So the link to get Chad Daybell's phone information, that was based on the fact that you saw Chad and Lori holding hands at the Hobby Lobby and that they were married at that time, correct?
Can you give me a little more than link?
All right. The reason for the search warrant to get Chad Daybell's phone is that he was married to Lori Vallow, correct?
Yes.
There was no indication that he had any involvement in the disappearance at that time of JJ Vallow, correct?
Other than he wasn't responding to our requests.
Well, he wasn't responding to yours because you didn't call him, right?
I believe attempts were probably made to his phone, not by myself.
Okay. And the question is that you said probably. So you really don't know the length and extent of what was taken to contact Chad Daybell, do you?
That's right.
So when you testified earlier today, when you said attempts were made to contact Chad Daybell, you really don't know what attempts were made, do you?
I can't be specific, no.
Well, you can't give us any information because you don't know, isn't that right?
Objection argumentative.
Overruled.
You don't know, do you?
Pryor, Mr. Pryor. Once I make a ruling, then the witness gets to answer the question, so don't jump in with another question like that.
I'm sorry, Judge. You can answer it.
I know attempts were made.
Now, on the subject of cell tower information, cell tower information coverage is really designed to show a phone company has an area, specific area covered, correct?
Roughly.
Yeah. And it's not a way to locate where a device is. It's not appropriate to use cell tower coverage to show where a phone is in a particular location, is it?
It would be of the 3 methods the least accurate.
Okay. Well, the least accurate would be there's towers that are shooting down a coverage area, and what the least accurate is that that's showing that potentially the phone's in that designated area that covered by the cell tower, right?
Of 3 areas, yes.
Right. So the wedding photos, it's not unusual to have photos of a wedding, is it?
No,
And you don't know on that thumb drive that you said the family pictures of Mr. Daybell, you don't know whether those were copied to another thumb drive, do you?
I do not.
And just the photos of themselves are not anything peculiar or particularly alert to anything, correct?
Are you talking about the wedding photos?
Wedding photos, yeah.
No.
And did you research why people use malachite?
It has something to do with spirituality and other things.
Okay. And you have no information that Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow, prior to the searches of the malachite rings and the purchase of the rings, had ever discussed getting married. Is that right?
Not that I know.
Okay. Judge, could I have one moment, please?
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Judge, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That concludes the cross-examination then. Mr. Wood, any redirect?
Just briefly.
Very well.
Detective, you were asked about doing a search on Melanie Gibbs' phone and David Warwick's phone, correct?
Correct.
You testified earlier about a geofence.
Yes.
Did Melanie Gibb or David Warwick's phone show up in that geofence?
No.
And you asked about Melanie Gibb and David Warwick and doing a tap and trace on them. And you didn't do that, correct?
That's correct.
At the time you did tap and trace warrants on Lori and Chad, was Melanie Gibb cooperating with law enforcement?
Yes.
So you didn't have to do a tap and trace to find her.
No, we were in communication with her.
You were asked about any link between Chad and the search for JJ, correct?
Correct.
Where was JJ Ballow's body found?
On Chad Daybell's property.
Were any of Melanie Gibb or David Warwick's kids found on Chad Daybell's property?
No.
Grounds? The objection's untimely, overruled.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
All right, that'll conclude the testimony then of Officer Stubs. I'm going to inquire of the state. Is there a potential that this witness is going to be recalled for further questioning during trial?
Your Honor, it's not likely. We have, with our law enforcement officers, though, decided we're probably not going to release them just in case we need them for rebuttal.
Okay, well, in that case, then, Officer Stubs, you are still subject to the court's exclusionary order, so please don't follow the trial or watch the trial in any way after you step down in case you're recalled, unless you're advised by the prosecutors you can do so. If you are recalled, I'll be inquiring on whether or not you've abided by that instruction. Thank you for providing your testimony. You can go ahead and step down, and I'll let the state call another witness once you leave.
Your Honor, if the state would call Steve Daniels, I do need to confer with my team about something really quick, but we would be calling Steve Daniels.
Okay, take a minute to do that.
solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you.
Okay, the witness has been sworn. What title do you prefer, Mr. Daniels?
Agent.
Okay, thank you. Agent Daniels, there's an exclusionary order in this case, meaning people testifying are not permitted to view testimony of those that testified before, and the case has been live streamed as well as open to the public. Have you viewed or watched or in any way observed trial testimony since this case began?
No, I have not.
Okay, have you discussed with anyone else the testimony they've given during trial?
No, I have not.
All right, with that declaration, then, Mr. Woods, if you'd like to proceed with your direct, you may.
Thank you. Can you please state your name and spell your name for the record?
Steve Daniels, last name Daniels,
What is your occupation?
special agent with the FBI.
How long have you worked for the FBI?
I've worked for the FBI for 26 years, approximately.
At any time in your work with the FBI, were you a part of the evidence response team?
I was.
What is the evidence response team?
The evidence response team is basically the crime scene investigation team. We do forensics for the FBI.
How does someone become a member of, now the evidence, we're saying evidence response team, can we call that ERT?
Yes, we can.
Is that how you normally refer to it?
Correct. Yes.
To shorten the time, how does someone become a member of ERT?
And real quick, approximately 1 year ago, I stepped off of our ERT team.
Okay, so you're no longer a member of ERT.
Correct.
When did you become a member of ERT?
I was on ERT and off ERT. My original entry on ERT was approximately 2001.
How does a member of the FBI become a part of ERT?
Once you become an FBI employee, then there's a hiring process to become an ERT member, like an internal process to become a member.
Okay, and what training is necessary for that?
Once you become an official ERT member, then you get to go back to Fredericksburg, Virginia, and you receive an 80-hour ERT training, a basic training. And at that basic training, that's where you kind of learn the original beginning policies, procedures, how to process crime scenes, how to process, execute search warrants, that type of thing.
And did you complete that basic ERT training?
Yes, I did.
Is there advanced training available for ERT members?
Yes, there's a lot of advanced trainings after you get the 80-hour basic course completed.
What, if any, advanced trainings did you complete as a member of ERT?
I've completed a lot of advanced trainings. I think the one that's relevant today would be the Recovery of Human Remains course. And I completed that one approximately March of 2014. And at that course is held at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. And that's a course, it's a 40-hour course. And you have to complete the basic ERT course and another course, advanced course, before you take it. And the pertinent things are, that's the course where you're taught by certified experts from the University of Tennessee how to process human remain recovery sites. So how to collect those sites, how to process the sites. They have a large area where they actually have human remains. And during the course, and it kind of varies, but you get to excavate approximately 4 to 5 burial sites. So my course, we excavated approximately 4 human remains sites during the course. And then at the end of your excavations, your team members or each team will present those, their excavations, what they did, how they did it to each other. So you kind of learn from that. And then besides that, in this area, there's other human remains that are at various states of decomposition. So throughout the course, you kind of learn how the human remains, how they decompose under different circumstances, different variables, and that's all part of the training.
And you completed that training?
Correct, in 2014.
Have you, other than this case, ever participated in the recovery of human remains?
Yes. So since 2001 to approximately a year ago, I've participated in many different circumstances of recovering human remains.
Okay. At any time, did you hold a leadership position within ERT?
Yes.
What was that?
When I left ERT, I was the senior team leader for the evidence response team out of Salt Lake City, Utah, out of the Salt Lake City division. And our division covers the states of Utah, Idaho, and Montana.
Were you involved with a search of the Chad Daybell residence on June 9th and 10th of 2020.
I was.
What was your involvement there?
I was the ERT senior team leader for that search.
And who asked you to be a part of that search?
Approximately 1 week prior to the search, a local FBI case agent from the area contacted me and informed me that there would be a search warrant execution on the Chad Daybell property. And one of the things we'd be looking for would be human remains.
And do you know where Chad Daybell's residence is located?
Yes.
Where is that?
It's in Fremont County, Idaho. And I'd have to look up that address now. I can't remember the exact address.
That's okay. What did you and your team do in preparation for the search of Chad Daybell's property?
So once that FBI agent contacted me about a week prior to the search warrant execution, I spoke with that FBI agent who was one of the case agents for the FBI. And then we contacted local Rexburg Police Department. And then I would have contacted our evidence response team unit. And our evidence response team unit oversees all evidence response teams nationwide. And then I would have contacted the evidence or our FBI laboratory. And at the FBI laboratory, we have a group called the Operational Projects Unit. And together, all of us came up with a search strategy. So we kind of pulled our resources together, talked about this case, this search, this execution. And then the Operations Projects Unit was able to give us some satellite imagery of that property. The case agents, the local police were able to provide us with some information about the case. One of the things was like telephone information, text message information. And we kind of put that all together to come up with a plan. So we had a little bit of prior knowledge before we got there. So we kind of had a little bit of an idea of what we wanted to do.
When did you arrive on the Daybell property?
It would have been June 9th of 2020, and it would have been sometime after 7 a.m.
What was the first thing you instructed your team to do?
Since we had a week of preparation, we had approximately 8 ERT team members, official team members on site. So given that week of preparation, our team members were pre-assigned roles. So we kind of all had at least an initial role or responsibility prior to arrival. So some of those roles would have been to start a crime scene sign-in log, start overall photography of that crime scene. And that just involves getting as-is photos of what that property looks like. And we had a plan in place for how we wanted to start with some priority areas. And then I would have been starting my own log. I have an administrative log that I do. And one of the things, my responsibilities as a team leader is to do a walkthrough. So just doing a survey walkthrough of that property to see what we're actually dealing with now that we're there. And those are some of the initial things.
And I'm sorry if I missed it. Did you designate priority areas for search?
We had a couple of priority areas. So one of our known priority areas from the aerial imagery that we looked at ahead of time, like satellite imagery, we knew there was a fire pit on the scene. So that was a priority area for us for sure. So 2 of my ERT team members, they were designated to find the fire pit or go to it since we knew it was already there. And they were designated to further assess that fire pit. We knew from the aerial images that there was a fire pit, at least from whatever date our images were from. But we needed to, once we got there, we needed to see, what does this fire pit actually look like? Could it have been somewhere else on the dates that we were really interested in? Which the dates we were really interested in were, what did this fire pit look like in September of 2019? So I had a couple team members that were just designated with, once we get there, go straight to the fire pit, trying to assess what is it, what are we dealing with? Is there anything else in that area? And so we had 2 people designated to that for sure. We had a text message that talked about burying something in a pet cemetery. So we knew that there was some kind of pet cemetery supposedly on the property. So one of my jobs was to try to figure out, where is this pet cemetery? So that was something we didn't know, but we wanted to try to assess that and see if we could figure that out. So that was something I'd be looking for once we got there. And then we had a telephone ping that showed one of the suspects in the case. We had a few, 3 or 4 telephone pings on the property from that September of 2019 time of interest that we had pre-placed on a kind of a satellite image of the property that gave us a few indicators that in September of 2019, these persons were in these areas on the property. So at least that gave us an idea of, hey, let's at least go check out those areas to see if there's any discrepancies, anything interesting in the vicinity of where those telephone pings were at. So we had a couple of those areas that we for sure wanted to go check out. And one of those was northeast of what we assessed to be some kind of pond on the property from those aerial imageries.
Your Honor, I apologize. May I have a brief sidebar with counsel in the court?
Yes.
Okay, so sorry guys, I know you won't believe this because honestly, pretty sure I don't believe it, okay? But we went ahead and pulled shit out of her diaper again. So now it's on the sofa. I've got to scrub some furniture. We've already had another shower, more changing of clothes and whatnot. So again, I didn't get very far from last time since I was here. Apparently, I am being punished today. But let me get this fixed up real quick. Oh, there's still, that's going to be, this is a long sidebar. Thank God.
June 9th and 10th, 2020.
Wait.
So those have all been admitted now.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I appreciate the court's
Yeah,
patience.
I know. Oh no, it's unbelievable
on the
actually,
record.
that a child can even shit this much. But
Agent Daniels, those
okay,
pictures,
we're all fixed
were you
up.
able to
Thanks,
look at those pictures
guys.
that were entered into evidence?
I was.
And do you recognize those pictures?
I do.
What are they?
Those are the photographs that our ERT photographers took while we were there on June 9th and 10th of 2020.
And did you work with other members of the FBI to create an interactive exhibit that detailed the work that you and your team did on the Daybell property on June 9th and 10th, 2020?
I did. I worked with our Salt Lake City total station operator. I worked with our Salt Lake City Faro scanner operator, and I worked with the operational projects unit. That's our unit at the FBI laboratory in order to come up with an interactive.
And you mentioned total station. Can you just very briefly describe for the court and the jury what a total station is?
So total station is just a measuring device, and it's a point-to-point measuring device. Sits on a tripod on one end, and on the other end, it has a pole, and at the top of the pole, there's a prism. And on the end that's on top of the tripod, it shoots a laser to the end with the pole with the prism on top, and then that laser will shoot back to the tripod end. And like I said, it's really good for longer distances, and it's a point-to-point measuring tool. So the team can kind of dictate which pieces of evidence or objects it shoots in or measures. So in a scene like the one we'll discuss today, it's good at outdoor scenes. It's good at long distance measurements. It's good at measuring perimeters or grids. And we'll discuss that today later.
Is it fair to say, is it somewhat similar to a surveyor's tool?
Yes, it's similar to what you'll see road construction crews using on the side of a road when they're shooting in longer distance measurements.
And you mentioned a Faro scanner. If you just briefly describe for the court and the jury what a Faro scanner is.
And the Faro scanner is another measuring tool that we'll use on our crime scenes. And it also sits on a tripod, but there's just one measuring tool on the tripod, and it has a laser also, but the laser that it emits is directed by a mirror that spins on it, and it has a horizontal coverage area of 360 degrees and a vertical area of 300 degrees. And as it rotates, it will shoot thousands, of measurements at a time. And wherever we set that scanner, we can't really direct what it's picking up, but it's really good at scanning a lot of areas as it scans. And then we'll just move that around. And for this scene, we did just over 40 scans. So it's when they kind of complement each other. So it's really good using them on these scenes.
You talked about the total station of the Faro scanner. Is the data collected by that voluminous?
Yes.
Okay. And this exhibit that you worked to create, was it created to summarize the voluminous data you collected through photographs, total station, Faro scanner? Was it used to summarize that in a way that is presentable to a jury?
Yes. So there was a lot of data that was collected from all of these tools, and that all was presented to the defense and prosecution teams. And then this exhibit was meant to just summarize everything and make it as easy possible for everybody today.
And would that exhibit make it more convenient to provide your testimony rather than bringing in every Faro scan, every total station measurement?
Yes, it would.
Okay. Your Honor, based on Idaho Rule of Evidence 1006, the state would move to admit that demonstrative, or I apologize, the summary exhibit 171 that the agent has just described.
All right. Has defense counsel been able to review the exhibit?
Yes, Judge.
Is there any objection to the admission of summary exhibit 171?
With the understanding, Judge, that it's being offered as a summary of this officer's testimony.
All right, without objection then and pursuant to Rule of Evidence 1006, the exhibit is admitted.
In your honor, may I publish?
Yes.
And just for the court's information, that exhibit is on a thumb drive.
Okay, so it'll be marked with the corresponding 171
Yes.
designation. Okay.
I believe I gave the court a courtesy copy earlier, and then this one will be presented into evidence.
Very well.
Agent, is this the exhibit you prepared?
Yes, it is.
It's just taking a second to read. Your honor, I apologize. I appear to be having a small technical difficulty. I'm going to try and reboot this.
Okay.
All right, I think I have it going.
Seriously? How
Agent,
the
can you
fuck do these
describe to the
people
jury what they're
continue to
seeing
have worse
right now?
problems technically than I
So
do?
this opening screen just shows the city of Rexburg to the south, and then north is going to be to the top of our screen on all of these. And then our Daybell property, Chad Daybell property is going to be up to the top here. And then I think the only thing else to mention is that on June 9th in the early morning, our ERT team staged at the Salem Church as local law enforcement secured the Chad Daybell property prior to our arrival.
I apologize, your honor. It still seems to be having an issue. There we go. Or maybe not. Your honor, I do apologize for the technical difficulty. I'm going to try and reboot this one more time. And if it doesn't work, we have an alternative way of presenting it through him.
Judge, could we approach this area so quickly? A sidebar.
I would prefer if Mr. Wood maybe continues working on that. Is there another prosecutor that can sidebar in his absence?
Last night, so
I understand.
Well, it looks like they're going to take some kind of a break. Wow, these people. What the hell is wrong with them? This is unbelievable. Yeah, it looks like they might go to lunch.
All right, if we could have the jurors brought in, please.
Unbelievable, huh? Yeah, I agree. Happy, me too. Yeah. Get the look off your face, you piece of shit. Oh my gosh, try me. I'm telling you, this child is pushing me today. I have done something wrong. I am definitely being punished today. No doubt about that. He is such an asshole. My God. Surely they have this fixed, though, right?
You were part of the search there on June 9th, correct?
Correct. I was the ERT senior team leader.
All right. Agent, I'm going to start with
Oh my
the
God.
house on the property. Can you describe what you see in this picture? And Your Honor, this is State's Exhibit 170 VV.
This is just an overall photo showing the front door of the residence, which is located
That's
on the
funny.
west side of the property.
And can you explain what you saw in this picture and where it was taken?
This is just a vantage point photo, and it was taken on the second story level of the residence, which is right about there. And the picture is taken outside of this window, and it's just looking towards this large tree, and that's in the area of where we found J.J. Vallow's human remains. And then in that photo, you see a trailer there, and that's not typically there. That's a law enforcement trailer.
And where was this photo taken from?
This is another vantage point photo from that same window on the second story of the residence. I'm pointing to it with my laser pointer. And it's just showing, we've just changed directions a little bit. So now it's showing some of the outbuildings.
Yeah, Pryor can learn about his property now,
chicken
right?
coop, another shed, and then there's a larger garage or
God.
barn in the background. And just past that garage is where we found Tylee Ryan's human remains. And then over to the right, I'm trying to point to it with my laser pointer, and this area is the area of where the fire pit was located. And then there's another law enforcement vehicle right here that typically isn't there. And with these vantage point photos, we're just trying to show the perspective. If you were a resident in the home, these are some of what you would see looking out of the home.
Judge, could I have a listing of what picture number that was last?
That was 170 TT.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Wood, if you'll try to reference
Yes.
those each time, thank you.
And this next picture is 170 WW. Agent, if you can tell us what you see and where that was taken from.
This is another ERT photograph, another vantage point photo from the residence, and it's looking through a kitchen window. And this time it's still pointing to the east part of the property. And this time you can see kind of that area of that large garage or barn. Eventually we'll see better pictures of that barn, but this is the area where there's a large garage door, so the entryway to that barn. And then on what ends up being the southeast corner of that garage or barn, there's kind of a man door. So from this photo, you can see the entryways to that large garage. And then past that garage again was where we end up locating Tylee Ryan's burial site. And then just to the right is the area of the fire pit.
And Your Honor, this photo is 170 SS. If you can just briefly describe where that was taken from and what you see.
This is another ERT photo, and it was taken from one of the bedrooms on the southeast portion of the residence. And it's another vantage point photograph. And as you look to the east of the property, again, you can see the outbuildings, the entrances to those outbuildings. You can see the entrance to the garage. There's a garage door in this area where I'm pointing. And then there's a man door. Can't really see it, but it's in the southeast corner of that garage or barn. And then you can see the top part of the large tree. And in at the base of that tree in that area is where we found J.J. Vallow's remains. And then just past the large garage is where we found Tylee Ryan's remains. And just in this area is where the fire pit's located.
And Your Honor, I misspoke. That was picture 170 XX.
Okay.
And Agent, you testified earlier about how when you got there, you picked out some areas of interest. Can you, with your pointer, show the jury where those areas were?
Prior to arriving from our aerial images that we saw, like satellite imagery, this was the area of the fire pit. So we knew that was a priority area. We were going to look for Pet Cemetery, which we didn't know where it was on the property yet. And then we had some telephone ping information. One of those pings was in the area up here where I'm trying kind of circling. JJ's human remains end up being found where that orange rectangle is. And our Pet Cemetery ends up being found in this area right here. And that square ends up being Tylee's burial site. But at the time, prior to arrival, we didn't know that was going to be exactly that was going to be Tylee's burial site. We didn't know exactly that was going to be JJ's burial site.
I'm gonna click on this fire pit area and click on show measurements. Can you explain for the jury what those measurements are?
So initially, when we arrived, we had 2 team members that were designated to go to the known fire pit and start assessing what are we dealing with on June 9th. And so part of that assessment, they started observing ash on the ground in the area of this fire pit, and they started setting up this grid. So this outer portion that I'm highlighting right now is the outer perimeter of the grid they set up. And the reason they did that was just because of the ash that they could see on that ground in the vicinity of the fire pit. And the grids that they ended up setting up, they just kind of quadranted it out. So they made a quadrant here, a quadrant there, one right here around the fire pit, and then the fire pit actually became a quadrant. So that was just an easy way for us to kind of designate and search each of those individual quadrants and search the fire pit, and we'll get into that in a minute. And it just, as we collect those items from each quadrant or grid, it's just an easy way for us to kind of document where things came from. And then in a minute, we'll show some photos of a charm that we located. And that's dot right there is where the approximate location of where we found a silver charm. And we didn't get an exact measurement to that charm, but with our total station measuring tool that I described earlier, we total stationed in all of these outer points, the perimeter and inner points, like just where these corners meet of this grid. And with our operational project unit was later able to take a measurement from that northeastern corner and then take a measurement. This fire pit ring ends up being center blocks. So at each end of each of the center blocks, we took a total station measurement. So from those measurements, we were able to get a precise measurement of that northeastern corner to one of the ends of our center blocks. And so that's the measurement you're seeing there, 33 feet, 1 inch. And so you get an approximate distance from the northeast corner to the fire pit ring. And so we're at least able to show you an approximate distance as to where that silver charm was located. So,
Agent, I'm going to click on these photos. And Your Honor, this photo is 170CCC. Can you explain for the jury what this vantage point is?
This is just an overall photograph showing an as-is photo. And in this photograph, once we were there, we could assess that this was an area, or I was able to assess that, hey, this is probably where our pet cemetery is. And I made that assessment based on there was a small dog statue right there at the bottom of that pole. And then in front of this dog statue, there were some discrepancies to the ground or some depressions. And so I was quickly able just to make a pretty decent sized square in this vicinity and get a team to start processing that area. And that's what we called our pet cemetery initially. And then in the background, you can kind of see where the fire pit area is back here. And so that's just an as-is photo showing what that looked like initially.
And this photo?
And this is just an example of that. The piece of the measuring equipment you see in the middle there, that's our Faro scanner. It just sits on a tripod. And then this fluorescent tape that you can see around on the ground, that's the team starting to create those grids that you can see over on the left side here. So the creation of the grids, and then you can see our Faro scanner starting to take scans of that area.
And Your Honor, that's States Exhibit 170FFF. And this is States Exhibit 170BBB as in Bravo. And Agent, can you describe what you see here?
And knowing that there was a fire pit and knowing that that could be a place where we could potentially find evidence, we processed this fire pit, and we wanted to show this photo just to talk about that a little bit. So this is an as-is photo of what this fire pit looked like when we arrived on June 9th. And the way we're going to process this fire pit is we're just going to process it layer by layer. And I'll probably say that a lot today, but we're going to process this layer by layer. We're going to take that initial top layer of tree branches out of there, look through it for evidence. And then eventually when we start getting to the soil and debris that's in the fire pit, we'll start processing that soil and debris. And we've got a particular way that we'll process that. We put a tarp down, and then we have sifters. So we have wooden sifters, and within these sifters, we have wire mesh. And then on top of that tarp, we use 5-gallon buckets. And so eventually we'll get shovels and usually end up scooping out the different soil, the layers of soil into these 5-gallon buckets. And then it's a team effort. So the team members will start taking the soil to the sifters, and it's usually at least a two-person operation. One person's required to operate the sifter. You kind of have to shake it back and forth, and at least one person has to pour the 5-gallon buckets of soil and debris into the sifter, and then you start watching to see what you're collecting. And then we'll start, if there's anything valuable that shows up, we'll start collecting that. So that's kind of a quick explanation of what that process is like. And that sifting process is done at the fire pit. Eventually, when we start identifying the burial sites, we do a sifting process at JJ's burial and at Tylee's burial. So that's a common sifting process that's done throughout this scene this day, or these days.
Your Honor, this is photo 170 AAA. And Agent, can you tell the jury what's going on in this photo?
And this is just, we're continuing that process I just described. So those tree branches are obviously gone. We're at a new layer. And then we're just continuing to go through these different layers. And that process I just described would be happening. And then as we're going through that soil and we're sifting the soil, we're going to start collecting evidence. And we'll start to see some photos of that in a minute of what we start collecting. And then this just is just closer to being finished processing the fire pit. You can see that we've finally taken a rake. You can see the different lines through the soil. So we've raked a lot of that final layer. We've removed even the center blocks. So we've kind of getting close to completion here, but that's what it looks like kind of when you're done. And then a lot of the outside grids, they most likely didn't have any sifting done in those outside grids, but this raking process was probably done on those harder surfaces, and usually just a visual inspection of the harder surfaces with some kind of raking tool is all that would be required to see if you can see any evidence.
All right. And Your Honor, that was photo 170ZZ. Detective, what is, and Your Honor, this is photo 170YY. Agent, what did you observe in this photo?
This is a Pura Vida chain that was collected from the fire pit. So from that sifting operation that we did, this is one of the important pieces of evidence that we collected. And so this is the type of things that you will find when you do those, sift through all of that soil and debris. And then other things that were collected from the fire pit were possible bone fragments, possible organic material. There was at least one possible fabric piece and a possible cloth piece. And I'm using possible because at the time we're doing this out there, a lot of the smaller things that we're finding in fire pits, we can't make the determination on scene. So for a lot of that stuff, we'll just collect that, and then later we'll send that to a laboratory to get determinations.
Judge, can I void your native objection?
You'll have to wait till another question now, Mr. Pryor.
And Agent, what did you observe in this photo?
This is the silver charm that was collected, and it's the one that will reference back to this red dot in the measurement screen over here at the northeast area. And so,
Your Honor, just for the record, that's 170DDD as in Delta.
and as the team was setting up this grid, this was one of the first pieces of evidence that we collected on June 9th. As they were setting up this grid, they observed that silver charm just outside of our grid perimeter.
All right. And what is that photo of?
This is just a closer view of that charm in place on the ground.
Thank you. And Your Honor, that's 170GGG. And what do you observe in this photo?
This is the same charm in place. We've just placed a placard. And obviously this is item number 1. So that was the first item collected.
And Your Honor, that's 170HHH. And this is 170III. And can you explain what you see there?
This is now we've moved it. We've just put it on a piece of paper and with the same close-up photo with scale.
Okay. Your Honor, the court has States Exhibits 175 and 273. We'd ask that those be divided.
All right, we'll get those.
And then while they're getting that, if the state could be handed States Exhibit 6.
Submitted. Which one's, what's that? Okay, we have 6. Did you also want 175 and 273?
Yes, those are two pieces of physical evidence that were brought in,
Oh, okay. And you want those brought in at this time?
if that's possible, Your Honor.
Yeah,
yes.
we can do that. So we've got some physical evidence that's going to be brought in at this point. I'll
273.
ask the bailiff to please coordinate that.
Your Honor, I might inquire now. These next two items are smaller items. Do you want them placed on the table, or can they be given to Mr. Daniels on the stand?
Let's get them admitted first before they're handled, and then if they're smaller, I don't mind if the witness is able to handle them. You want to allow defense an opportunity to view those,
Yes.
and then we'll,
Marking them, Your Honor.
okay, thank you. All right, I'll instruct the bailiff, please hand those to the witness at this time, and you can inquire in aid of admission if you wish, Mr. Wood.
Thank you. Agent, do you recognize what's been marked as State's Exhibit 273?
Open these or?
Your Honor, may he open those to identify the, without showing to the jury, to identify the content?
Yeah, and we do have gloves up there if you'd like to wear those. I don't know if that matters to the state.
I
And
think he's wearing some.
okay, didn't see that. Thank you.
I recognize these.
What does it purport to be?
It's the Pura Vida chain and the silver charm.
Okay, and which one was marked as 273?
The Pura Vida chain.
Okay. Is that the same chain that was collected from Chad Daybell's residence on June 9th, 2020?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I'd ask that State's Exhibit 273 be entered into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
All right, that objection, then that was 273 is admitted.
And then can you identify State's Exhibit 175?
Yes,
What does that purport to be?
it's the silver charm.
And is that the charm that you and your team recovered on June 9th, 2020?
Yes, it is.
You recognize it to be the same?
Yes, I do.
Your Honor, I'd ask that State's Exhibit 175 be entered into evidence.
No objection, Judge.
Very well, 175 is also admitted.
And Your Honor, we'd like to show those to the jury. I don't know how the court would like that. We do have plastic baggies they can be placed into, so nobody's actually handling them. If you want the witness or the bailiff to show it to them.
You can do that either way, Mr. Wood, or you could also probably project an image of them with the Elmo.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. And Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'll also mark these bags with the corresponding State's Exhibit numbers.
Yes, you may do that.
And may I publish by the Elmo?
Yes.
Agent, can you describe what you found in States Exhibit 273?
This is the Pura Vida chain that was found inside the fire pit. And then on this end right here is where it says Pura Vida.
And was that actually in the fire pit?
That was in the fire pit. And then the team found that when we were conducting the sifting operation that I described.
Your Honor, for the record, I'm now publishing States Exhibit 175.
All right, 175 is being published.
And can you describe what you see there?
That's the silver charm. And that's the charm that was found in that northeast corner, just outside of our grid perimeter. And that was seen on our exhibit, indicated by that red dot over by the measurement area.
And Your Honor, for the record, I'm now publishing States Exhibit 6. Agent, have you seen this image before?
I have.
Do you know who that individual is?
Kylie Ryan.
Do you see her wearing any jewelry?
I do.
Does that jewelry resemble or look like the jewelry recovered from Chad Daybell's property?
It does.
Thank you. And Your Honor, if I can go back to the HDMI.
Okay.
Agent, I'm going to click on this area that's marked as Site 2. And what was Site 2?
Site 2 is the burial site for Tylee Ryan.
Your Honor, this is photo 170V. Agent, can you describe what the jury is seeing in this photograph?
This shows our initial pet cemetery site, and I'm kind of highlighting it with the pointer, and you can see the dog statue. This was the area that was right in front of the dog statue that I initially said was the pet cemetery. We ended up finding a dog remains in this area right in front of the statue, and then cat remains in this general area. And we processed that area initially by hand, kind of doing a layer by layer approach. Once those remains were removed, we utilized this backhoe. And the backhoe in this picture has started to go deeper in our initial excavation of the pet cemetery. And now the backhoe started to expand that initial site and go north on the property. And that's what we're seeing in this photo, is that expansion northward. And what we'll end up finding is Tylee Ryan's burial site will be in this just north of that initial pet cemetery area.
And Your Honor, I think at this point, you talked about turning off the
Publishing of these photos.
publishing of the photos to the public.
Okay.
This may be a good place.
Going forward here, there's going to be some more graphic imagery in these photos. I am advised, and for that reason, they'll be shown and published if requested to the jurors and the parties. However, the court's going to prohibit their introduction on the live stream or otherwise to members of the audience attending. So we'll get the monitors set up in order to continue to publish these photos going forward.
All right.
I don't know if we probably need to reseat some of the members of the public as well. So if everybody wants to just stand up and take a stand-up break for a moment, we'll get that arranged. All right, please. So,
So folks, all seats are fair game at this point. We got to clear off from this side. So you can sit anywhere in this general area, even in that front row, right over there where it says reserved. So we can accommodate everybody. and once you are settled, you're welcome to sit down.
Okay, thanks everyone for accommodating that request. Are the jurors monitors working? Okay, thank you. You can proceed, Mr. Wood.
Thank you. And Your Honor, this is photo 170W. Agent, can you describe what the jury is seeing in 17 or in this photo?
As the backhoe is expanding northward from the pet cemetery, this is one of two vertebrae that were identified. And at this time, we weren't able to determine if this was a human vertebrae. But the key thing was at this point, we stopped and we had a forensic, or we had an anthropologist with us on scene, and we tried to make a determination if this was human or not. And while that determination was being attempted, I caught an odor of human remains decomposing. And so that leads us to stop utilizing the tractor, and we start processing this area by hand.
And Your Honor, this is photo 170X. Agent, can you describe what you see in this photo?
This photo was taken around that same time frame that the two vertebrae were uncovered by the tractor. And once we smelt that possible human remain decomposing, and we saw those potential vertebrae that could be human remains, these bricks that are in the top portion of that photo, those were so close to this area. And at the time, we don't know yet if these are human remains. But if that is human remains, those bricks are close enough to where this human remains could be, that we decided we wanted to keep those, or potentially keep those as evidence. So this photo just shows kind of that initial, we may be onto something here. This photo just helps show that initial, our clue that we could be hitting human remains. And it's important to note that at this time, we had already found JJ's burial site. And when we get to JJ's burial site, he was covered with stones and cement blocks, or stones and cement. So we had an idea that it's possible her remains something could have been placed on top of her human remains too. And then in the middle of this photo,
Agent, if you could just, one moment, I need to identify this photo for the court, 170Y. And what did you observe in this photo?
This is a photograph we took, and then it's important to note that, I wish I could point to it, but in the middle of this photo, this is the other vertebrae that was discovered around the same time. So these were the two vertebrae that the anthropologist was trying to make that determination on, is this human or not? But again, at this time, we couldn't make that determination yet, but we decided to start using hand tools.
Agent, can you see the mouse from my computer screen?
Yes.
Is this
Yes.
what you were talking about?
Yep, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you.
And Your Honor, this is 170Z. Agent, what do you see in this photo?
In the very middle of that photo, there's a larger white piece of bone, and that area ends up being Tylee's burial site.
And Agent, I don't mean to interrupt you, but is this what you were speaking about?
Yes.
With my mouse, okay.
And then I wanted to take a second on this photo, again, at this time, we couldn't tell, we weren't positive that these were human remains, but we were treating it like it could be, and we were going to start excavating. And I just wanted to take a second to, how we process these scenes is we'll set a perimeter, and then we'll start processing layer by layer. So try to take layer by layer and excavate the site, just so that we can hopefully tell the story. If these are human remains, we want to know how they were buried.
And Your Honor, this is photo 170AA. And Agent, what did you observe in this photograph?
And this is just a closer, now we've excavated that bone that we saw in the last one. So we're getting a little bit deeper around it. We haven't fully excavated it, but we're just getting deeper around it, trying to excavate it. So now you're starting to see flesh. You're starting to see some charred parts of it. And so the team's just attempting to make sense of what is this. It still doesn't have any, we can't associate or identify it with human yet. Our anthropologists can't say it's human yet. So we're just trying to excavate down. Can we get to it? Can we see more of it to try to make those determinations? And another thing just to note is that we have a variety of tools that we'll use to do these excavations. We have shovels, rakes, picks, typically when we're further away from the remains. As we get closer, we'll use smaller things. We have smaller shovels, rakes. We have wooden tools that we'll use. We like to use clay modeling tools. We like to use tongue depressors if we get closer to bone and flesh. So that's kind of the variety of tools that we'll use for these different scenes. But this is just that closer up view of what we were dealing with. But again, at the time, we couldn't make the determination that this was human remains. So we're just trying to get to what this is and excavate it.
And Your Honor, this is photo 170DD as in Delta. And Agent, if you can describe what was going on in this photograph.
So we were finally able to remove those pieces that we saw in the last photo. And these were the first pieces of what ends up being Tylee Ryan that we were able to excavate. And you can see from the photos, it was difficult for us to excavate. And when we finally excavated it, these were the first pieces that we were able to say, these are human remains. And at this point, this was kind of our ending point, or we started wrapping up for the day. And so these human remains ended up going to the coroner. So they ended up going to the coroners. The coroner removed them from the scene. And then at this point, we knew for sure that site we were just looking at, that's going to be Tylee Ryan's burial site. And that's where we're going to excavate. So we set up a good perimeter now, and we'll come back on June 10th and finish excavating that site and come up with a better strategy or plan to finish the excavation. At this point, it was kind of hard for the team, the entire team. We had more than the ERT team out there, all of law enforcement. It was just, we didn't know necessarily what we were dealing with up until this point. So it was nice to have that final confirmation that these are human remains. And now we kind of stop for the day knowing that at least we've got the right site. We'll come back tomorrow and fresh, and we'll finish the excavation.
And Your Honor, this is photo 170BB as in Bravo. And Agent, is this just a closer up photo of the last?
Yeah, this is just a closer up photo of those bigger pieces that we were able to excavate that day. And it just shows kind of some of that charring pink flesh, what we were able to remove on June 9th, 2020, kind of closed out our day with that burial.
And Agent, what did you see in this photo?
After we removed those larger pieces on June 9th, this is just the photo of what was left in the burial. So this is what it looked like once those bigger pieces were removed. And this would have been what we came back to on June 10th.
And for the record, that's 170LL. And Your Honor, this is 170CC. What was happening in this picture?
And I would just call this more of an exit photo. So now we've kind of wrapped things up for June 9th. And that's just kind of how we started. We were starting to put things away, and then we're getting ready to leave the scene for June 9th.
And Your Honor, this is 170EE as in Echo. Agent, what do you see in this photo?
This is going to be the morning of June 10th. So now we're back on scene, and one of our priorities, we have a lot of priorities, but one of the priorities for June 10th is going to be to finish the excavation of Tylee Ryan's burial site. And in this photo, you can see those orange stakes. The orange stakes is the perimeter I set up around Tylee Ryan's burial site. So that's going to be one of our main focuses for June 10th.
Agent, you had spoken earlier about sifters. Can you see where my mouse is located?
Yes.
Or pointer, I should say. Is that one of the sifting tools you used?
Yes, that's one of our wooden sifters. And on the inside of that, there's a wire mesh. So that's what the sifters look like.
Your Honor, this is photo 170FF. And Agent, what was going on in this photograph?
So this is just showing there's those orange stakes. So that's just outlining kind of the perimeter now of Tylee Ryan's burial site. And that's going to be where her remains are. Now we just need to do that process we've talked about, just kind of layer by layer excavation. And we're just going to try to note anything significant that we find as we go layer by layer down. And we're just going to try to show that story of how we find her inside that burial site.
Your Honor, this is photo 170GG. Agent, what did you observe here?
And now you can see on this one, on one side of the burial site, we were able to excavate pretty deep, and you can start to see a green melted 5-gallon bucket. And then at the very bottom, we finally see something identifiable to us, which was Tylee's skull. And that's what you're basically seeing. On the top portion of that photograph, just something to note was the soil on the top side was, there was a harder substance to it. And I don't know what that was, but it just made it difficult for us to excavate. And what we end up doing is and I don't know if it was concrete or a quickcrete or what it was, but it made it hard to excavate. So we end up getting the backhoe and kind of pulling back that hard substance. And that's kind of what I wanted to show or talk about in that one.
Your Honor, this is photograph 170HH. And Agent, what did you observe here?
Now you can see that we've got around the entire human remains. And this is just we're pedestaling out these human remains, and it's just something really unique. They don't look like human remains. What we end up finding is just kind of this melted mass of remains. And you can see that you can kind of see the edge of the melted green bucket on this photo. And we finally did get to the other side where that harder substance soil was. We got past that, but we're able to at least give you guys an idea of how these remains were buried.
And Your Honor, this is photo 170II. Agent, what did you observe here?
This is just a close-up of that mass of remains. And initially, when we were trying to excavate from the top, not knowing what it was, this is just a good example of kind of why we didn't know what it was. We were trying to excavate this. It felt like it was organic material, but we just couldn't, it didn't make sense to us. This doesn't look like human remains, but it's not dirt. And I mean, that was the top part we were trying to get through, and we couldn't make sense of it.
And Your Honor, this is photo 170KK. Agent, what did you observe in this?
And this is just close-up photos of what was identifiable to us. So anytime we see something that we can identify with, we just naturally want to get good photos of that. So this is just closer up shots, the best we could get of that melted green 5-gallon bucket and the skull that was at the very bottom.
And Agent, if you can see my pointer, is this the skull you're referring to?
Yes.
And Your Honor, this is 170JJ. Agent, what is this?
This is just another close-up as best we could. Again, we're trying to get deep in that hole for the burial and get a close-up as best we can in place of that skull. And that's what you're seeing.
Your Honor, this is 17000. Agent, what was this?
And then this is just the human remains, the massive melted remains. At some point, we just had to make the decision. We've excavated as best we could. We've shown everything we can. Now we just need to try to remove those remains. So when the team got in there to remove those remains, they fell apart. But this is just showing that burial with the remains removed.
When you say they fell apart, how did that happen? What was going on when they fell apart?
Well, just as a team of people tried to lift that pedestaled out massive remains, it literally just fell to pieces. And so then just imagine us all trying to pick up those pieces and put them into a body bag that was placed close by.
Your Honor, this is photo 170NN. Agent, what was this?
And then this is the coroner's body bag that was nearby that burial. And then these are those pieces that were then placed in the coroner's body bag.
Your Honor, 170MM. Agent, what was this?
So once we've removed all of the human remains that we could see in from the burial, we had the anthropologist just go through the remains just to give us kind of a filled inventory of what remains do we have? Does it look like we have everything? As a team leader, we just want to make sure, could there be other burials on the property? Do we have everything? And so the assessment was we have everything that we need from the one burial. And so that's kind of what this was. It was the anthropologist coroner kind of going through the pieces, just to give us some feedback as if we have what we need.
Your Honor, 170PP. Agent, what is this a photo of?
This is just a closer up photo now of those bricks. So now once we've decided, hey, the human remains were here, this was the burial, let's go ahead and collect those bricks. We still couldn't say that those bricks were on top of Tylee Ryan's grave, but they were close enough. And after what we saw at JJ's grave, we decided to collect those as evidence just in case.
Your Honor, this is photo 170QQ. And Agent, what did you see here?
This was just at the very end after we were done collecting the human remains. We had the backhoe just go a little deeper in the burials in each of them, but this was Tylee's. We had the backhoe just go a little deeper and a little bit wider at the burial, just to ensure that we had everything and we didn't see anything else unusual in the area. And then once the backhoe was done, then we covered the area back up. So we put the animal remains back in and we covered the entire area with backfilled all of the holes that we dug.
Agent, what do you see on the screen?
I see Faro scanner diagrams at the bottom, and then over to the right, there's our ERT photographs in a line.
And can you just describe the relationship between these photographs and the Faro scanning that is pictured?
So the ERT photographs are to your right on this screen. And as we click on each one of the photographs, it's just going to show, it's when you click on it, that photograph's going to be blown up in the middle. And then it's going to show a layer. We'll start with layer A. And then when we click on that layer, you're going to get a line in the bottom Faro scanner diagram. And all it's going to show us in the Faro scanner diagram is just an approximate depth for where we are at on that ERT photo, that layer.
Okay. And the numbers going down the middle is that?
And that's in
the
numbers going down the middle is just a depth measurement, and it's going by feet. So 0 to 1 foot, 2 foot to 3 foot.
And at this level, it was approximately 2 feet.
Approximately 2 feet at layer C.
And at layer D?
Just under 2 feet.
And at layer E when it was removed?
Still just under 2 feet.
Agent, I'm going to call your attention to what's labeled here as the shed or barn. What is the jury seeing in this photo? And I apologize, Your Honor, that's 170WWW.
Oh, this is a picture of that garage or barn. And if you were looking from some of those vantage points from the residence, if you walk out of the residence, the back door of the residence, you would see this garage door. So this would be the first big entryway from the residence. So we're about to walk into, it's an overall photo showing the big garage door as you walk into the garage or barn.
And what do you see here?
This is another what we call overall photo of that garage area as you walk inside. And then over to the right, things of interest will be the tools that we're going to be looking at inside this garage. And one of the keys is for me, what I'm interested in, the ERT team's interested in, or law enforcement's interested in a burial site, is what tools could be used to bury somebody.
And Your Honor, that's 170QQQ. And what did you see here, Agent?
As you walk to that big garage door, which you can see in the photo, and if you just turn right, then you're going to see the tools lined up on the right side of that garage, or it's going to be the south side of the property.
And Your Honor, that's 170PPP. And what did you see here, Agent?
And this is just a medium shot now of those tools on that same side of the garage. We're just getting a little closer to them.
Right. And that's, Your Honor, that's photo 170000.
And just to inquire, Mr. Wood, are we through the graphic imagery at this point,
Or
or is it coming back in?
it would be coming back in. Could we have a very brief sidebar?
Yeah, let's do that. Thank you.
What the hell are they doing now? This guy, he really is just handling this like, wow, this is hard. Hey, Faith. Sorry. Hey, Tracy. Sorry, guys. My grandson has decided to make today all about him and shit. So that's what I've been doing. It is horrible.
All right, thanks, Council. On the sidebar there, we just discussed scheduling for today and where the state thought they might want to break for the day. We're going to continue on and bypass the mid-afternoon break so long as the jurors are all okay with that for now. And I think there's kind of an estimate that maybe here in 30 minutes or so.
Yeah,
we'll
I've
be
had a hell of a
concluding
day, I'm
to
telling
break till
you.
Monday. Is that where you think things will be, Mr. Wood?
Wow.
Somewhat around there, and Your Honor, I appreciate that. Just based on the court's earlier request of when we be
Hey,
breaking, I think
freaking.
that would probably be the best place.
Okay. So if you want to just continue on with direct and given that with our scheduling, is there going to be any more of the graphic photos today?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so we can go ahead and just have the monitors or the projection if you publish anything further at this point, and then we'll go back to that further on Monday.
Who? Let me see.
I don't recall, Your Honor, if I had labeled this picture. It's 170NNN.
Oh my God.
Okay, not yet.
That's funny.
So QQQ, I think, was the last one I had.
That's funny.
And so this is 170NNN. And Agent, can you just describe what you documented there?
So all of those pictures of photos of tools we just looked at, these are the ones that were against that right side of the garage or the south side of that garage or barn. These are the ones we took as evidence. And these are most likely that could have been used in a burial.
And Your Honor, this is 170MMM as in Michael. Agent, what was this?
This is one of those tools we just saw that was taken as evidence, and it's just a pick.
Your Honor, 170LLL. Agent, is that the same pick?
That's the same pick we just saw that was taken as evidence. And this just shows some of the reasons we took it as evidence because of that debris you can see on the blade of that pick and some of the other black marks, on that pick.
You have your pointer now. Can you point out what you're referencing there?
There's some kind of debris on the blade of this pick, and you can kind of see the black, potentially char marks on this pick.
Grounds? Sustain.
Okay.
Just to that part of the response, Mr. Wood.
Your Honor, this is 170KKK. Agent, what is this a photograph of?
This is another closer up picture of two of the shovels that were taken as evidence. And again, you can see that why they were taken as evidence because the shovels are dirty. So it appears that they were used.
Hey, Cindy.
Your Honor, this is photo 170UUU. And Agent, what was the significance of that photograph?
As you walk into the garage and if you make a left, these are tools that were collected as evidence that were from the left side of that first entryway of the garage. So we're on the west side of the garage. And then as you walk in the garage right here, you make a left. These tools were in this area. And obviously we're taking tools that could have been used to do something to our human remains we found.
And Your Honor, this is 170V as in Victor. Agent, what is this a photograph of?
This is just an overall photo of some of the tools that were in the west side of this garage. And we didn't take all of
Gerri.
these tools as evidence, but we just wanted a picture of.
Okay, something
a lot of
just
the different
happened.
tools.
Hold on.
And this is 170SSS. Agent, what was this a photograph of?
This is just an overall picture of some of the tools that were on the east part of the garage. And these tools were in the southeast corner of this garage. And you can see the man door right here. That door was located on the south side right there.
This is photograph 170TTT. What was this an image of?
These are those same tools in that same area. From the shovel over to the hoe, these tools were the ones that we actually collected as evidence, just because they could have been tools we thought could have been used to do our burials or other physical damage.
And Your Honor, I need to make a correction on the labeling.
Okay.
This was image 170TTT. And the last image shown was 170SSS. And Agent, Your Honor, this is 170RRR. What was this an image of?
These are bricks that were similar to the bricks that we found near Tylee Ryan's burial site. And we found these bricks over by this shed. And we took a sample of those bricks also.
Your Honor, the court has States Exhibits 173 and 172. We'd ask that they be, their physical evidence, we ask that they be brought out, and I believe they'll be coming in by way of stipulation.
Okay, you've,
No objection, Judge.
all right, the defense has reviewed both exhibits 173 and 172. They've been offered and are admitted. I'll instruct the bailiffs to retrieve those and they can be brought into the courtroom.
And while they retrieve those, Agent, what did you do with the tools you collected?
We turned everything over to the Rexburg PD at the end of it, both days. So we packaged them on scene and then turned them over to Rexburg PD.
And it probably is obvious, but when you say PD, is that referring to the police department?
Police department.
Okay. And Your Honor, from my understanding, we were going to ask Agent Daniels to approach this table and give him a handheld microphone.
Okay, the witness can approach the table. If you'll stand, of course, on the side furthest from the jurors, facing the jurors, I guess, would be the appropriate place, and we'll get a microphone for you to continue testifying.
Agent, or do you recognize these States Exhibits 173 and 172?
I do.
What are they?
It's the pick from one of the photos we just showed you, and it's the yellow and black handled shovel from one of the photos we just showed you.
And can you unwrap the pick and show it to the jury?
Can you identify which of the two, which exhibit is that?
Oh, I apologize.
Yes,
That
K9.
is-
Yep. Tammy, Tylee, and JJ. It takes a special kind of evil to just sit there and act like no big deal.
So this was the pick that we found as you walked in that garage, and then to your right, this was the pick that was to the right. And originally when we found it was in a crate. And then when we removed it from the crate, it was one of the ones we lined up, and you saw a picture of it when it was lined up with a few other items, and we took them as evidence.
And Agent, without stating
Yes.
conclusions
Oh, I'm
about what's
sorry.
on that pick, what about that pick?
Thank
drew
you,
your
Faith,
attention?
for that.
Typically, when we look for tools to take, we'll look for tools that we typically use for burials. I already kind of mentioned to you some of those tools. We use rakes, shovels, picks, and other items. So this is a pick. So we'll kind of scrutinize those more. And then this one was, we'll just say dirty. So it was dirty. And so that was something that drew our attention. And that would just give it, the lab would be easier to test a dirty item. So those are things that we would look for.
Thank you. And then if you can unwrap States Exhibit 173 and show that to the jury.
That's true, Frazzled. It's unbelievable, really. Jack is trying to see just what I am made of today. What are they doing now?
If you can explain what that is and why you collected that item.
So again, if you walk into that
Yeah,
garage,
I think he does.
big garage door, off to your right, this was one of the tools that was up against the south side of that garage. And then again, it's just a tool that we typically use when we're excavating, and a tool that could be used for a burial. And then we'd already excavated and processed the fire pit, and so it just seemed dirty, a tool that we would be interested in for this scene.
Thank you, and it could be wrapped up again.
Oh my goodness, freaking, that's so sad. Oh my God. 2 weeks. Yeah, that is a lot. I don't, for real. That seems like
And
a
Your Honor,
really long
that actually
time.
went a little faster than what I had anticipated.
We'll pray for him too. Oh
if-
my goodness, you
Leave it
guys.
at the discretion of the court. I believe I could finish up
That's sad.
my direct by 2:30. If the court would like us to do that, I'll leave that up to the court. I understand that we still have to bring this witness back for cross, so however the court wants to do that is fine with the state.
Why don't you, well, I guess I can leave it up to you somewhat as well, Mr. Wood. I don't want to,
Gosh. I
would it make
guess.
sense to go another 10 or 15 minutes? Or would that just put it too close to when you want to conclude your line of question?
I think it would probably take about another 40.
Okay. Well, given the schedule and concerns we had today, I think what we'll do is go ahead and recess for the afternoon then, given the time. I appreciate you inquiring on that, Mr. Wood. We will go ahead and break until Monday then, and we'll continue with testimony of Agent Daniels on Monday. As we break for the day, first, I'd like to thank those in attendance for complying with the courtroom conduct order throughout today. And for ladies and gentlemen of the jury, before you break for the weekend, again, I will give you the admonishment you've heard many times before, which is to please not discuss this case at all amongst yourselves.
Oh,
or with
wow.
anyone
Okay,
else.
so they
You're not
know
permitted to do that until you begin your deliberations.
already, Gerri.
In addition, avoid any kind of investigation into the case or review of any of the facts of the case from outside sources.
Shut up. I don't want to hear. Oh, wow. Yeah, I guess. He's had pneumonia most of his life since he was 4 days old. Finally, after changing, he's a doctor seeking answers. Right. Well, good. Freaking, oh my gosh. Yeah, that is great, Gerri. Whew. How sad, freaking, my God, his whole life. That's crazy. Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, right. I know I have a lot to do too. Yeah, I was thinking how, so today is the 16th day of actually being in trial, but it was a month what is today? It's a month on the 1st that this has been going on. So, because they have taken a lot of time off and stuff. Thank you. I know, I'm so excited. I'm excited for tonight. I'm just so overwhelmed. Whoever missed it, Jack has spread shit around the house twice today. We've been in the shower twice, changed my clothes twice. I had my hair done, everything already, and it's wet now. Making me a little bit crazy. Holy hell. Oh. And he's not going to nap now, so there's that. But yeah, he is busy today, definitely. The second time I looked around and I was like, no way does he have shit on again. This cannot be happening to me. I know. I was thinking that the other day too. Like, seriously, this year is like going so fast. Thanks, Queen. Yeah, I'm not even worried about rest. I just don't want any more shit. My God. Cleaning our nails. I mean, he has it hogging everywhere. Ugh. Quick question. How the hell is Mayo? I know. It is crazy. I can't. Everything goes so damn fast. I keep thinking about that saying about days are long and years are fast. It's so true. Good God. Tomorrow is the Derby. Remember the Derby last year? And I tried to play it and we couldn't figure out how to do it. Remember, you guys, that Derby day was that day that guy came in. Aaron or... Yeah, it is Derby weekend. I'm so excited. I love the Derby. I'm not going to try that shit again. I don't even know if we'll go anywhere. So how close are you to the Derby? I haven't worn the hat again. I haven't. That's so funny. Oh my gosh. That is on my bucket list. I really want to go to Churchill Downs one time for the Derby. I love to watch the Derby. And Gerri's been there. Yep, used to go. I know. Is there really? Wow, Beck, seriously. I know. I do like the hat. I don't feel like we're going to go anywhere tomorrow either, but I think we can do that online somewhere. Stop, Louise, really? Stop it, I said. Oh my God, Gerri, I want to go so bad. Yeah, I need to bet on Dan also. For sure. Louise, stop growling. You're not going to do nothing. Yeah, I need to get a bet in somewhere for sure. I think Mr. Snotty said he had that worked out. I am so in. Oh my God, I would love to go. Never heard anything. Wow. Okay, I like that. That's not great. That's a kind I like to pick. I like those odds right there. Gerri, you would go again, right? That's so special. You got to be. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely have to bet on that horse for sure. Right. Right, Beck? Don't you want to? A few years, well, lots of years we'll dress up and go somewhere and watch it. But one year we went to like this we really dressed up big time. And we all went to like this, what was it, Beck? A champagne brunch, I don't know what it was. Yeah, we did. Yeah, my mother-in-law dropped us off and came and got us. I do like the hats and yes, I love the hats. I love dressing up. Yeah, yeah. Like up on the balcony and stuff. You know what happens the day they go on sale, the day to get tickets for this place at Turf Paradise, you have to buy them the day they go on sale. That's how we mess up and we aren't ready for it all the time. But I think they are closing Turf Paradise down. I think I heard. Me too. I love it. I love with great big hats. Last year I just had kind of a floppy hat, but I usually have a great big huge hat. Did they? Of course they did. Something I love to do. Yeah, we need to go to the Derby next year. That is a really good thing to work on. I bet freaking, oh yeah, I bet. Yeah, there's so much stuff going on. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I need to start looking into that. I bet Fig would love to come too. That is so fun. Oh, wow. Oh, how cool. How neat. Where do you stay? What town would you stay in? Louisville? Louisville? I don't know how to say that for sure. Doesn't it sound, oh my, it is seriously like, how am I saying it wrong? They hike up. Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah. I'm sure that's the way that shit goes all the time. Come on. Oh, did you pinch your, what did you do? Oh, let me see. Let me see. Can I see? Oh.
Okay.
I think we pinched his fingers. Something happened. can't show. Okay, sorry. Yeah, oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. Okay. Okay, hold on. Okay. Let me see. All right. This is Glenn makes all our plans. He just tells me when to get in the car. Oh, I know. Yep. Jack had he's tired. He's really tired. But he's not trying to nap. Oh my gosh, quit touching stuff. He keeps moving my computer. Okay, this is a lot. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to get off here because this is a lot. I'm going crazy right now. And I want to be ready for tonight. So I got stuff to do and I have to get ready again and all that. He doesn't. He's now liking Mickey Mouse Club a lot. And it's been helping. Like he's been trying to talk a lot more watching that. Thanks, Queen. Okay, I'm going to get off here and get ready for tonight. Woohoo. Yep. We're going to have lots of giveaways. We're going to have a lot of stuff. I know, he is. He's getting big. You watched what this morning? Oh, Bluey. Oh. Oh, yeah. My granddaughter loved Bluey. Like we actually named one of our very frequent hummingbirds Bluey because of Bluey. My granddaughter did that. Stay. Oh, bad storm. Oh gosh. Ugh. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I'm going to get busy here and clean up. I got to scrub my couch. I've got it all blocked off now because we have shit on it. Congratulations, Jack. But okay, I'm going to see you guys in a little bit. I love you. Thank you. Sorry for my poor performance today. I appreciate you all, though. Thank you so much. Love you. I will see you later. Oh, wow. Not kidding. It's a miracle cleaner. Oh, wow. Oh, I will. Maybe she'll come in tonight. I don't know. I haven't seen her. I haven't even talked to her for quite a while. So busy. All right. Love you guys. Thank you.